Woo, we on the road today. One of us. I'm still trying to get my breakfast down. Happy
Tuesday.
Chris is headed home. Is that the Dallas skyline or Fort Worth or one of the suburbs?
Dallas.
That is Dallas. Oh wow, I love seeing shit like this.
Well, I will take more video as we go.
Yeah, we'll be driving right through. We're right by downtown. You'll see all the whole skyline.
You're like me. I love
Well,
it.
I mean, definitely focus on the driving, but I do appreciate.
Oh, Lindsay's got the.
I've got the phone.
Lindsay's got the
phone.
Okay,
I'm not, perfect.
There's no danger.
Well, this is another treat. There's probably websites where people can take little YouTube tours through people walking around with their phone at different places.
Yeah.
Well, you can basically do this Google Maps if you want to. You can go down to street level and you can literally.
Yeah, it's not the same as that. My dream, my fantasy vision dream for my utopia for the internet would, and I've always waited for it. And we're closer than you think. First, you have Google Maps, which I love. It's my favorite piece of internet technology ever.
I also love Google Maps. Yeah, same.
So, but then you zoom into the street level, and you can see everybody's house and everything. Then there's a thing that lets you zoom into the window, and you can see inside the home. And then you can start seeing what all the people. But we kind of have that now with Zoom and the streaming because this is the little peek inside the window. We don't know where the homes are on the map. But it is getting to see inside the homes now, so it's like one step closer to my fantasy utopia.
I mean, I think that might pose a couple problems being able to look into people's houses.
I'm sure you would because you live to pop by fantasy. Go ahead. I've popped yours enough. It's my turn in the hot seat.
Oh, no. I was just saying I grew up considerably poor, and that's what my mother and I used to do sometimes at night when we get bored. She'd take me to Dairy Queen and we get ice cream, and then we'd go drive around the rich people's neighborhood.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I think it's because the microphone is further away.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, it's still.
I want to hear
me,
it.
Okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Chris.
Yeah, it's because the microphone for the car is over here at my side. I can't really
okay. Well,
all right, here we go.
I don't want to risk asking you to tell another one of her stories. Could you? Maybe you could tell it. In the meantime, I wanted to hear what Lib said. There was a couple of problems. Hey.
With being able to look into people's windows via homes via Google Maps. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a couple, but to me, it's worth the.
I mean, look,
trade-off.
I mean, stalkers exist, unfortunately, and I would prefer not to give them literally the perfect tool.
Oh, see, that's interesting that you're seeing it from your paranoid perspective. And so
I mean, it's not paranoid. I know people who've been stalked. Like, it's actually scarily common, especially among like young women.
And this is the tunnel.
Well, yeah, I definitely wouldn't use it for stalking.
No, I know. I mean, 99% of people wouldn't, because 99% of people aren't fucking creeps.
There could be stalkers right here. There could be streamer stalkers that just silently watch the stream every day.
Google Maps could help you like figure out where those people live, which is slightly uncomfortable. Everyone does want to spy on my boobs, yes. Which actually, I have news with that. I'm working on getting a VTuber avatar.
So you'll be able to be like a cat or something?
Yeah. So
what are you gonna choose?
I mean, I've just been fiddling around and building stuff. There's
what's up, motherfuckers?
What's up, Steve?
That's the Frank Gehry designed museum. Look at the museum there.
What is that?
Oh God.
Frank Gehry designed museum there.
Oh,
that's cool.
I think they have one in Vegas too. Wow.
Fuck.
This is so cool to get to see all this.
And then down over there.
Steve, before I forget, I meant to ask you yesterday. I have a friend I want to hook you up with that's working on some mental health project.
Okay.
And when he started describing it and the papers he's trying to get published and the themes and the topics, I said Steve is the person to put him in touch.
I appreciate that.
So, and I'm trying to get him to come on and
best.
talk about it here one day too.
That'd be great.
Steve is a wealth of knowledge, so yes.
I don't know about a wealth of knowledge, but I know a minute.
I mean, the fact that you have a bookshelf behind you that you can just like turn around and find books. Yeah, I know. Well, no, I mean, I think Jeff is too. I genuinely like my thing is I don't read books like that. I just read PDFs of books. So.
Oh, I do those too. Steve's value is he reads all the modern books. None of my books are like past probably World War II or 1950s.
Oh yeah.
I read the classics and all that, like nothing contemporary on my bookshelf. So Steve has all the current takes in his head.
Yeah, I've read a bunch of older theory and some newer theory by some of the like more modern anarchists, but not that much newer stuff. What I wanted to mention is a recent Donald Trump speech.
Where can I hear
he...
something real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was grabbing my milk before I sat down, but the books I read, actually, a large majority of the books that I read are much older, but I do read a significant portion are newer books. But mostly I love philosophy and Russian literature, and so a lot of my stuff is kind of on the old side, but I would say it's probably 50-50. I'd probably say it's 50-50.
Wow, well, you are a brave man to like Russian literature. Russian literature is interesting to me, but it's just so it's fucking dense. It's very dense.
Yeah, but that's one of the good things about literature is its density, its ability to carry layers and layers of meaning in one work.
The two books that I make sure I read every year, one is all 3 volumes of the Gulag Archipelago, which is 2,700 pages, and then Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
Yep, Crime and Punishment. Yep, that's the one.
I make sure that I read those two.
Oof. I loved Crime and Punishment. That was that was good.
It was such a good book.
Yeah, it was much more easy. Okay, it was so much easier to just like grasp and understand than War and Peace. At least for me. I tried War and Peace, but it just was not. Oh, Castle in Dallas.
Yeah,
medieval times.
Oh,
Tolstoy is difficult to read.
Tolstoy? Oh, I love Tolstoy.
What's up, Lanza?
War and Peace?
Tolstoy, yeah. I mean, like he's a good writer. It's very dense and very.
What do you mean when you say dense?
It requires how do I? It usually requires rereading.
Yeah,
any good work of literature does.
I mean, no.
Extra.
To me, any work of art
requires like you can't just read a Russian.
Requires for what? You certainly can just
to understand it, not to understand it deeply, but to understand it on its like surface level.
So is that one of your requirements for good literature, that it should be able to be apprehended with?
Oh no! Like War and Peace is fantastic literature. It's like phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just like
dense.
Yeah, I have trouble with it, is what I'm saying. So like, it's not.
Oh, so you're not dense is not necessarily a bad thing. You're just
no.
Okay, because I think density is almost necessary.
Well, for example, Tolstoy goes into this excruciating detail about a hare and like a rabbit and how it jumps, and it like almost has no bearing on the fucking story whatsoever, but you read it anyways, and you're just constantly wondering, is there something to this paragraph that I'm not seeing?
Yeah,
and the whole fucking book is like that.
It reminds me of actually a lot of Tolkien. Tolkien is very similar in that he goes into a lot of density. Now I will say I think there's a difference in like the grok ability, because like Russian literature requires, like, especially for a non-Russian audience, to learn a lot of like outside context to get the fuller understanding of the work. As opposed to Tolkien, I'm American. I know a lot about English history and culture, so when I read Tolkien, it's easier for me to understand just because it's my culture. It's not as easy for me to understand, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm a huge fan of Russian film. Like my favorite director of all time is Andrei Tarkovsky, and he did a lot of his films are very similarly. The Russian film from that era is very similar to Russian literature from that era. It's very, very dense. If you ever try to watch Andrei Rublev, it's one of the most dense and insane historical epic type things ever made. Or watching his original Stalker, or Solaris, or Mirror, any of or The Sacrifice, those are all movies that require multiple viewings to begin to kind of grasp what he's getting at. They're amazing works of art, but they're very hard to watch if you're not accustomed to watching something at that pace and that. We
got Chris on movies. We'll be here for a while.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that Russians they were so separated from. The Russians were so separated from the rest of the world just due to geography.
Yeah.
That a lot of their culture really kind of grew
Lanza?
out of itself.
Wait, Lanza, show yourself again.
Lanza kind of looks like a machine.
That's Lanza.
Looks good.
Well,
I like the beard.
I like the purple and green bars.
Thanks, you guys. I gotta be honest with you. It's appreciated, but I do get a lot of compliments. So if you could keep it down. No, I'm just kidding.
And speaking of compliments, here's my guy Joe, my boy Joe.
That's good. Good to see you guys.
Joe, what kind of old books do you read? What is your bookshelf like?
Mostly biographies. I like real stuff, not a lot of fiction.
A lot of nonfiction, yeah. No, I think of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
Oh, well, hang on. We don't need two Chris's. Do you want me to kick one off?
No, it'll lose a viewer.
But yeah, no, I was wanting to talk about the speech Trump made the other day, where he said that if they lost the election, that there would be a bloodbath in this country.
You'd rather talk about that than old books.
And how yes. I wish Chuck was here to talk about it, because I would love.
I'd talk about it.
He's in the comments, Chuck.
I know. I'd love to hear his take on, because Trump also did the. So Jeff, really fast. Using dehumanizing language for people that you oppose.
I don't care about that.
Is bad. Like that. You don't think so? You don't care.
Let's start with what he said, because you're already framing
he said migrants who come into this country aren't human.
Okay. That sounds like
wait.
At any point in his career, that could have been attributed to him, and I'd be like, "Yep, that sounds like Trump."
Did you say aren't human?
Aren't human? Yeah, that was his.
That's hard to believe. I want to fact check it, bro.
Let me. Let's see. Is this?
It's not a good thing to say.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe he said it, and that's from Trump, who says the most crazy shit in the world. And I'm still surprised.
No, I know. I was surprised too, because that's I would expect a smaller figure to say it, but Donald Trump usually he likes to skirt the line.
Yeah, I would expect that from Alex Jones.
Yeah, no,
So Kanye just don't vote for him, right?
Well, I'm more interested. I'm more interested in hearing a Trump supporter attempt to defend these.
I'll support it.
Chuck, are migrants humans? Come up and discuss.
I'll support it.
Yeah,
and I'll support it under this statement. If I was Donald Trump, I may have intel that tells me a lot of the country is brainwashed, and then I'll say something to practically secure 20% of the vote. Say it one time. Oh, I'll get how many? I'll get months and months out of advertisement out of it.
Free press.
And I didn't mean it,
it was taken out of context.
Okay, we have our Trump supporter.
What's the difference between that and somebody saying, "We'll put the change back on you"?
Put the change back on you. That sucks too.
That's Joe Biden
I would.
said that.
So they
He said,
both suck. You agree, Chuck?
We'll put the chains back on you.
Yeah.
Wait,
Hang on.
was he talking about black people or tires?
Back on you.
Huh?
I'm talking about black people. When
Biden was telling we're going to put the chains back on you, black people.
Biden said to put the chains back on black people?
Back in one of his speeches when he was running in 20, whatever year that was, 2020.
That seems like a weird thing.
I think it was South Carolina or North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. The vice president told a diverse crowd, including many African Americans, that Mitt Romney would, quote, put you all back in chains by unshackling Wall Street. Yeah, that's stupid. It's not.
Really. It's rhetoric.
I mean, yeah, I don't like. It's rhetoric.
That's a little different.
Sure.
Though,
Is that my question to you? It's not about equivalence, actually, because like I don't like Joe Biden. I'll sit here and I'll criticize Joe Biden for that.
Join the club.
Yeah. However, I'll also criticize Trump for that. Similarly, when Trump says that if he loses this election in 2024, that there will be a bloodbath in this country, which
he's probably
said
right.
He said that last time.
This is my position. Exactly this. Why these two are choices in the first place?
Because the Democrats are fucking useless.
And the Republicans aren't much better, man.
Yeah, no. The Republicans are also. I mean, they're arguably worse than useless. In many cases, considering they're like fully backing behind Trump, like they're
just blindly. Yes, at this point.
I think whether you either don't do something or you do something, both of those have fairly equivalent problems.
I like it.
Yeah, I agree. The whole idea of inaction is its own form of harm, or can be its own form of harm. Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think by not voting is inaction. If that's what you guys are saying.
Well, no. What I'm saying is like, okay, so for example, like the Republican Party doesn't acknowledge well, I shouldn't say this as a general statement. It seems like members of the Republican Party don't acknowledge that racism occurs in the places that it does, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Except for Mike Johnson, apparently.
Except for Mike Johnson. He's like on the opposing side of that, Democrats tend to believe that it happens everywhere when it's not. So it's like these two boundaries between these two groups is so blurred by ideological possession that they're incapable of seeing any fucking nuance in any situation at all. Like none.
So aren't we idiots if we participate and say these are the rules, we must play by them? I got to participate in that system. I'm not sure that's a thing. And you can still be active by doing other things.
Well, sometimes the loudest voice you have is your silence.
As one of those conservatives, if we were shown concrete evidence of racism, we would believe it. It's not that we're incapable of seeing any racism ever. I don't. Presented as racism does not rise to a reasonable standard of evidence for us.
I would agree. It's kind of like arguing with a flat earther. Your standards of evidence would be unbelievable. They be super high, which is kind of an indictment of that person to begin with. If I phrase that wrong, the flat earther says, in order for you to prove that the earth is round, you must fly away and take a picture of it or whatever. What evidence do you use? I could show you a bunch of stats that would indicate racism. It wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I mean that's an incredibly valid point. Let's see.
What do you want to change, Joe? Like, what's one thing that we could change right now that like all of us together could just change?
It wouldn't be a law or anything like that, but I would like to be able to have the conversation. That's how things get done. We could talk about pretty much anything and have a conversation, talk about the ins and out of it. But racism, that conversation is kind of off limits. You guys are smart. Everybody I seem to be at least as smart as I am. I'm very fortunate. But we can't have the racism conversation because of all the baggage that comes along. When you say, well, the Jim Crow or slavery, it just shuts doors. The conversations that you can't even have.
Well, how do we get past that? I think we can have
Well,
that conversation.
I think the way to get past it is for people, I think, to understand that actions in the past have an effect on the present.
I want to say that so bad.
Okay, Lib, I tried.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation for me is trying to understand it, but they have to show me. They can't just say the past has it. They have to show me the effects in the present and then link them for me back to the acts in the past that they're the consequences of.
Okay,
well, there's
for one,
still consequences of redlining that still exist today.
Yes.
Tell me about those.
So
I thought that was illegal now.
It is. Well,
it is
sort of.
Oh, you mean like when it
Kind
was
of.
legal, it kept the black people all in one little area?
It wasn't just black folk. It wasn't just black folk, and this is
this
the misconception with redlining. And so I had to research redlining quite a bit for my article that I wrote for Free Black Thought called Race Lining, because I needed to make sure that I understood it very well. And there's a lot of really great books out there. The Color of Law is a really good book that you can refer to. But
that sounds racist.
No,
give us a definition of redlining first.
So redlining was a system that, well, particularly the HUD housing organization and lenders both got together and outlined parts of a map, literally in red ink, which is why it's called redlining, where they felt it was an acceptable place to put people who were not wealthy or did not adhere to the values of their community. So you had people, you had poor people, you had Irish, you had black, you had Chinese, you had a large group of, Chinatown was a red line district at one point.
They would just outline that whole district. And you didn't get the loans, you didn't get this. They treat you different.
You couldn't get loans outside of that area.
Yeah, from Wikipedia, redlining is a discriminatory practice in which financial services are withheld from neighborhoods that have significant numbers of racial and ethnic minorities. It's been most prominent in the United States, which has been most directed at African Americans, though it's just basically racial and ethnic minorities that
may I
white
tell you
groups in America didn't like.
How I've been trying to solve racism in my own life?
I mean, you don't. Please tell me, because dear God, I would love some
No,
solutions.
I mean, dude, man, I'll be honest with you. This is like a semi-well thought out situation, okay? I'm going to say this. I mean this to all of you. So if I don't mean it to you, then I don't mean it to me. So it goes, number one, our love. Number two, you have the
What was
answers.
Love.
You broke up on one. I didn't hear you.
You're breaking up.
And you're already low.
Sorry, I accidentally moved. Shit, hang on. It's me. I keep mashing the wrong button. There you go, man.
Chris, Jeff, get excited.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, you are loved. Number two, you have answers. And number three, nobody is above you on a soul. Nobody's above you or below you on a soul level.
So that's what you go tell white people so that they can end racism?
You are hilarious as fuck. Dude, I'll tell that to everybody. And a lot of times people want to hug after you say it. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I wish that solved racism.
Well, Steve was going to tell us the
me how it
effects of
doesn't.
the redlining today. That was
yes.
I was still trying to understand those effects. From
I got one good one. Redlining went too. Hopefully, my girlfriend's mom was part of some 60 Minutes study or something talking about it in modern day. So they sent her and a black guy undercover, and they had white couples, and they had two white couples, two black couples. They gave them fake histories, identical credit histories, and all of that stuff. Yeah. And they went in to have them ask for loans, test drive cars, and all these things. And one of the things that when they went to look for housing, they were steered into the certain neighborhoods where they thought they should be. The white people were told, yes, we have plenty of apartments here. The black people were told, no, you'd be better off here. It's cheaper here. They're still steering them into those neighborhoods. And it's kind of like redlining.
How is that tied to redlining of the past? That sounds like
not redlining.
That's no, it's a little different, but we were talking about how things affect and they continue on. I was trying to draw that pattern that you wanted.
What did they determine from the 60 Minutes? Like, did they investigate behind it and find out why these people were being steered one way?
It was it wasn't just about the apartment stuff. It was about the racism in America and how it's pervade every institution. And they was trying to give evidence.
Why were those apartment people? Because it doesn't sound legal. So it sounds like if they
Of
caught
course.
camera, they could take it somewhere and say, "Look at what these people are doing."
Yeah,
and have
yes, it was, and not only that, they also told the black people in those apartments with more. If the black person insisted, they gave them a higher rent rate than the white people. It went on. They weren't allowed to test drive. The white people were,
because that would be all over social media. If somebody pulled that, they would be put on blast all over social media. We can compare notes now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of it is.
There's a good one. The house one right now where they take the black families. There's a lot of this. They go and get their house evaluated with the as it is, and then they take all they change is the photos. They take black people out, put white people in, and then have it reevaluated. They go up at least a couple $100,000 on average. It's crazy.
How often does that happen?
Well, there are a lot of people doing that specific one now, which is why I mentioned it'll be equal to Google, and I just found 5 or 6 to show someone about 2 days ago. Different people doing the same thing.
Yeah, the insidiousness of racism is the why. It's like trying to get to the why. So a lot of the times you're not going to get a response as to the why, but you can kind of see to some degree it being played out in the statistical models.
It seems logical, even if you can't draw the exact nexus. It seems logical. Yeah, I agree.
I know it is taught. Like I've seen.
It's kind of like what I explained yesterday with the enumerations in penumbra. It's kind of like this weird shadow that doesn't really have clear definable lines. So some things could absolutely be perceived as racism, but it's not. And other things could be perceived as racism, and it fucking is.
Well, that's my problem with black people. Science of racism, where there's a standard we can say this is racism, this is not. It's everyone's gonna try to persuade that their version of racism is what it is.
You're right. It's not science. It's sociology.
Let me give you an example from my own writing, from my own article. So racelining was intended. My idea of racelining was intended to discuss and investigate how not just people are racist against people that don't have their melanin level, but it's also how we create these cultures of intra-personal racism. So, for example, Ada Ekpala in England said, and I quote, "I've been told more often by black people what I can and cannot do than I ever have by white people."
That's where I was going to take the conversation. Yes, I would agree.
That's intraracial. I guess you would say intraracial racism is a real thing. You've heard things called, you've heard these kind of conversations all over. It's like, why are you dressing black? You're not black. Why do you talk white? You're not white. Like, these are all forms of subversive racism that do exist and do continue to exist. Yeah. So if we know that they exist on that level, working up from there, we can at least discern some level of certainty that these forms of racism continue. Yes. Not to mention, on top of that, when we're talking about men's mental health, there's a vast difference between how we deal with mental health for most men and how black men have to deal with mental health, because they also face racism and all these other things that other men have to compete with. They also have their own cultural. Women in different cultures have different requirements, or they're looking for certain aspects about a person that they want to date. Sometimes it's racial. Sometimes there's cultures within that race that have different beliefs.
And even more than that,
all good points, by the way.
Bro. I was gonna say, onto the in addition to the mental health thing, I can't remember the examples, but there were. As far as like black people and the healthcare industry, doctors on average underestimate the what was it, like the validity of pain from black people broadly.
And I've read about that very
wait, what? This seems so.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
No. I got an article about that. I got it.
I've heard it before, and if that's the issue, if all of this CRT stuff is because of like the pain level of subjective pain level of black people, I don't see
Jeff,
why it's a national.
Hey Jeff, really fast. Do you think that me and Steve and Joe would all be talking about this if it was predominantly or solely about the pain levels of Black people being misattributed by doctors.
Well, that's the example that.
That's a example. That's a
like
example.
It's a example.
I think I can
Is
find
there
it. Do I
one
got
that's
your
more
number? I don't have your
relatable or
number
more
anyway.
like relevant to everyone?
Redlining. How the
That's
Black
where we
people
were at first. That's
Yeah.
where I thought we
Yeah.
were at first. But the whole conversation started. We were talking about the effects of the past still being in the present and try to identify some of those effects. And then
I think where
redlining
it's evolved into we can see a lot of stuff going on. So even if we can't draw the direct connection, we can assume that one exists. I think that's what was on the table.
See, I can't assume like y'all can. That's the problem. I have to have reasons.
You cannot assume that if there is racism today, it has something to do with what happened in the past. You can't make that assumption.
Now, I have to deal with individual. You have to show me an individual act of racism, and there could be different reasons for each one.
That wouldn't be smart, right? We don't have an eternity to do it.
That's
we must speak in generalities. 8 million people, 8 billion people.
So I'm stuck doing it that way.
Also, generational wealth is an issue with that. As far as like, for instance, like compare like the median Black household versus the median white household. The median wealth of those households is vastly different.
Yeah, but what do we do about that?
Well, yeah.
Wait. Where did it come from? Please, Chuck, please. I might be able to draw one here for him. It's my contention that one's kind of clear. When the white people, when they got their start, they were given land. They were given the instructions on how to till it, loans to buy the machines, all of these things. And Black people, all these programs didn't allow Black people into it until more modern times. So that would have allowed, as a racist thing, that would have allowed white people to build more wealth in the way he called it. What kind of wealth did you call it?
It's median household. Yeah,
generational.
Generational.
It's
generational wealth. Yeah. Generational wealth. That's how racism would have built that. Can you see that directly occurring? Okay.
I think that was directed to you, Jeff.
Yeah, that was to Jeff.
I'm sorry. What?
The general wealth thing. He talked about a disparity between general wealth, and I talked about a racist policy back in the day that probably attributed to it.
Yeah,
that might be true, but what do we do about it now? Like that.
Well, that's not the question. My question
about it now.
My question is, do you see the line between, like, for instance, racist policies in the past leading to a generational wealth gap today? Do you see that line?
Yeah.
Is that
I can see a potential line. Like I would have to go back.
That's progress.
We'll take that. Yeah, we'll take that.
Restriction for Black, and then see if the wealth would equalize at that point. But
yeah,
I see a potential. Like it's not unreasonable to.
I can give you another example.
You got to take percentages into account too of population.
No, we don't, Chuck, because this study right here was done on the median wealth of households, meaning it's like
you're talking about an 80% white and 10% Black population.
Actually, did you know that the Black population has increased now to 14%?
I did. It's been 13.9 for years. I mean,
hell yeah, went up by a point.
But
finally,
that's a disproportionate percentage when you're trying to find a medium outcome.
No. See, Chuck, here's how they do the study, right? So they take a bunch of examples, okay, from all across the country, and then they actually I don't think that's how they did this one. This one I think actually, this is Pew. I think they just used the Census Bureau. Yeah, they used the Census Bureau. So they just took all of the incomes of all Americans, and then they charted them, and they found in the middle of the white population and in the middle of the Black population.
Oh, separately?
Yes.
Okay.
You ever seen
I'm
the
with you
wealth?
now.
There's another really good example here too, which is if you look at it historically, Black families were really doing quite well up until the 60s.
Yeah.
Right. Communally, they were doing quite well.
Yes.
And then what happened was after the 60s, you had a lot of, you had the Civil Rights and the Civil Rights Act and a whole bunch of different, Yeah,
war on
we're
drugs.
not going to discuss that yet. So that is the point I'm going to get to. So my contention is that generational wealth is misidentified as physical wealth, and more, I think, should be constitutionalized as removing black fathers from homes.
I dig it.
That one right there, you just killed generational knowledge. You killed generational wealth. You killed the black family. You decimate an entire population.
That's how you end up with these rappers doing the shit that we do now, right? And I was a rapper, and I'm telling you all of that, sweat drop off your balls, buy the most expensive watch. That's because we don't have dads from the 70s. That's where it stems from.
Okay, can I just ask you guys, this will break it up. I'm kind of a bottom liner, and if I'm not, make fun of me. Like, I want to learn too. So let me ask you guys all right now. This one question. Do you believe that there is a superior bloodline to you?
No.
God, no.
Not a bloodline.
No.
Okay, but what about a bloodline in general? Like, one bloodline is more important.
What is even a bloodline?
It means that's I thought we were talking about racism.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I don't even believe in race, to be honest with you.
I don't either. That's why I was trying to find out.
About the what is it, like Negroid, Mongoloid,
the darker.
No. He's talking about like a bloodline, like a family, like a bloodline would refer to
descendants.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe.
No,
ancestor.
Take
what
care,
do you,
though. But
what do you think? Tell us what you think. Where are you going with this?
Yeah.
Where I was trying to go with that is that a long time ago I decided, after having 20 something years of my life go by, maybe 22, 23, and like, I'm a white dude, but like, I don't identify as that. I'm into identity politics is my thing now. I just figured it out. But like, yes, one of my buddies, like, me and him were real cool and shit, and he was like, I was telling him about David Icke and all those Nagas and shit a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he liked it more than me, but he's like, do you think there's a superior bloodline? And I honestly searched myself. I was like, no. Like, no. Like,
wait,
I shouldn't treat someone better, and I shouldn't treat someone worse. Like, I mean, I should try to probably treat them a little bit. I mean, that's where the whole not pity, but like the whole on your heartstrings, you want to help humankind, so you do kind of go overboard. I think most of us would probably say we give more to help people out than we need to.
Yeah. I mean, genetically, there's no difference between me, you, and Joe. Like, there's no functional difference. What you have is you have phenotype, you have chromosomes within your genes that change certain aspects, like.
What I'm saying is, my father might say that that's not right. You know what I'm saying? I had to learn that.
Right, it's absolutely not right. Yeah, I think you're correct in the way that you approach that.
I got black people.
I'm addressing
that think that you guys are inferior. I got black people, especially in the neighborhood, not so much on the internet. Maybe I just ain't found them, but in my neighborhood, certainly, they will try and convince me that white people are inferior because of the melanin that we have. We are the descendants of kings. They really believe that shit.
I know that they do. My dad told me that on a cruise in like 2007. He cornered us in this like room, and he goes, "Guys, I want to tell you, I've been reading the Bible, and and it's the internet stuff. Like, he was like reading internet stuff that made no sense." And he was like, when it talks about the beasts of the field, that's when God created black people. And I was like, you are fucking crazy.
The what of the field?
I was like, you are fucking insane. I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to tone it down. Like, you're gonna be in a home in about 3 years, and you're only 40.
It's really funny. I didn't think that was where you were going. I thought your dad was gonna go the whole like descendants of Cain thing. Because that's
that's the same.
I know.
Sort of.
That's worse. That's worse.
You should
I guess so. I didn't think about it that way. I thought of like it was all bad, so it didn't make sense. No. So like whatever it was would still fall in the category of not making sense.
Not making sense.
Descendants of Esau. Apparently, he had red hair. He is the first white person, and I know a lot of people who pushed it. That is the right way. They're evil, Joe. You're not one of those guys. Bullshit.
Wait, wasn't Esau the good one?
I have no idea.
Esau
was a whole lot of credence.
Wasn't Esau the one that came out first? They were twins in the womb, and they had to fight to get out of the womb. And one of them came out first.
Yeah, but like But
Jacob was the more cunning, and that's why he ended up with the kingdom.
Yeah, I wouldn't tie like races to the Bible. Like in my opinion.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of like tying. It'd be like tying our idea of races today to like the Roman idea of race. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit.
Well, it's remarkable how many things in our culture reinforce the idea and the concept of modern race, because modern race didn't exist. The concept of the word race that we use today didn't exist prior to the 1500s until Gomes de Zerara of Portugal created a system, the five values of races, to basically the king of Portugal said, create this system so that we can justify the slave trade. Yeah. And so he did that, and then others built upon that, like Johann Blumenbach, Christoph Meiner, phrenology. The study of the bumps on the head and shit. It's like people stacked on top of that.
I've heard at that time the church had changed as well. They took all their pictures of Black Mary and Black Jesus and all of that, and they started changing. That's when the skin color changed to white too. That's interesting.
So that too. So what you had here prior to the 1500s, race was more about location, kinship, and religion.
Which is logical.
Things that, right. I mean, if you look at the word Ethiopia, right, those are two Latin words put together, which means black visage. There was no value associated with the races. They were just purely based on description. They were a descriptor. So it wasn't until the 1500s and Gomes de Zerara and all these other people along 15, 16, 1700s where this value of race came into being and has continued to persist. So my argument is the belief in a physical race as we know it today, if you support that, that's supporting white supremacy, because that's where the actual idea came from.
Yeah.
This goes back to Audre Lorde, who said you can't tear down the master's house using the master's tools. We're just adding annexes onto it. We're adding layers onto this thing called race.
Let me
go ahead, Jeff.
Hang on. I want to take it real quick. When you say belief in physical race, what does that mean? Because your average person, your school kid, your average just ordinary person, they can tell the difference between black skin, Asian faces, etc. So, like, is acknowledging that considered a belief in physical race? What constitutes belief in physical race?
A belief in the values of races.
So it's okay to notice the differences and acknowledge them.
Yeah,
but it's ranking
absolutely.
one above. Yeah, well,
I say that tall
but
white
you sounded
guy
like just believing that physical races exist support the white supremacy. Like just
in the concept that it exists now, where it's a value hierarchy. Yes.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
He is saying that it does exist. Ethiopia would, when you say race, he's of this, you would think of where they're from and a whole different things. It would never pop into your head that one guy is better than another just because of where he lives, skin color.
Right, and that more aligns with this modern concept of color blindness. But the problem with color blindness is it doesn't acknowledge racism.
It doesn't help me at all, bro.
I am colorblind. I grew up colorblind.
It doesn't help me.
I will defend colorblind. I can recognize racism when I see it. I'm from the South. I've seen plenty of racism. My colorblindness did not prevent me from seeing. It's prevented me from seeing the invisible racism.
It will
prevent a microscope to see that y'all want everybody to see.
It would, in my opinion, your colorblind blindness would prevent you from being able to do anything to stop racism. Right.
I would
recommend everybody read this.
Stop it. If somebody's being I haven't seen racism in like decades. When somebody's being racist around me, I speak up. I stop it.
I would highly recommend you seek out this book. It's expensive, and it's Dr. Sheena Mason. She's a PhD. She's got her PhD.
Oh, put it back on the screenshot. The title.
Her PhD is African American and
Caribbean
I got
literature.
It. Thank you.
I got it.
And her theory of racelessness basically points to all these fucking things out, and how we interact with race, and how we deal with racial problems, how we can help identify racism problems. As it's functioning.
Steve, you haven't yet considered that the author, she's a woke academic. We can't trust a thing that she says. She's an academic. She's woke.
No.
What? No,
Yep.
that's
No more
yes,
need be
that's-
said.
Well, I would
Yeah,
I would have
exactly.
to read her idea. I can evaluate her ideas. Like woke
So
people.
she gets a
Let's
lot of shit for
assume
her
every
idea.
book we read is written by a piece of shit with an angle. That's the way I do it. I don't trust no book. We can assume all books fall into that category that some dude had an angle. All right, we can assume that. That's fair.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that what Sheena Mason.
yeah, Dr. Sheena Mason.
I'm sure that she has her own ideas and her own agenda. However, I'm doubtful that it's nefarious. I was just reading her. I was reading her like Wikipedia page and some reviews on that book really fast, and it seems actually to be a pretty.
So I know her personally.
Mm.
I did a podcast with her where I interviewed her. I don't know if it's on my channel or not. I think it's on my channel, but it's under because I did it on her channel, but it's on mine under my playlist. If you go to More of Steve, you can find it there. Okay. But she's one of the most remarkable human beings who is so loving, so attentive, so patient. I mean, she spent a good year talking to me. Most of the books on my shelf are things that she recommended. Langston Hughes, W.E.B. Du Bois, Elaine Locke, like all of these amazing human beings.
You sleep with her?
Zora Neale Hurston. I'm sorry?
Kidding, nothing. Go.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so what her theory of racelessness does, and this is the beauty about what she's trying to do, is if she's right, and we would all follow her process, racism would functionally cease to exist. She would put herself out of a job.
Is there a short version of that process?
I'm sorry?
Is there a short version of that process?
There is. If you go to her YouTube page, you can actually see her 5 tenets. I haven't memorized them personally, but there's a certain amount of integrity that comes with someone when their plan effectively ends their ability to make money, right? So this is the thing, is like if what you're doing, if it works and you basically work yourself out of a job, there is an immense amount of integrity that comes along with that.
That's my job. I'm a cop watcher. If I do succeed in getting the police and government to behave, I have no job anymore. So that's the way I always see my shit. My job is to put myself out of work.
Cops. There's always going to be a need for you because there's always going to be generations of new cops that are going to need watching.
Yeah, but the point is if he actually succeeded, he'd work himself out of a job. There's a certain amount of intellectual integrity that comes along with that, and an honorable intent that comes with that helps you understand that the person really is being truthful. Right, they're not looking to perpetuate myths. They're not looking like what's her name? Robin DiAngelo is the biggest grifter I've ever fucking read. Her book is fucking atrocious, right? And so I don't play in that field.
I want to look her up just because he said.
Don't get me
you don't know her?
Yeah, she's the one that wrote White Fragility.
She was real big during George Floyd. She was one of the other factors driving all the.
Well, and that book is like 10 fucking years old, and all of a sudden it just gained huge popularity.
Hysterical white lady.
Yeah, she's fucking.
That apparently other white ladies in her demographic relate to.
Well, I mean,
it doesn't mean I didn't
beat her out black people.
It doesn't mean she didn't gain any knowledge from it, but it was just one of the worst, poorly written books, worst argued. She's using, all sorts of logical fallacies, Kafka traps. It's like, well, if you don't believe in white fragility, you're practicing your white fragility. It's like, what the fuck?
What? It's not, okay.
That's like saying, oh, you're a murderer. No, I'm not. That's exactly what a murderer would say.
Right.
It is.
It's catch-22.
Yeah,
it's just it's full of this shit.
It's that the Kafka trap stuff is all like,
dude,
it's actually really common in like those kinds of I really do hesitate to call her an academic because I'm not even sure if she is even one still. I know she does all these like those like fucking speeches at like corporations. Like she'll go and
she gets like six figures to go.
Robin DiAngelo.
I gotta look up this
shit. The amount of academic work that she has done is fucking minuscule.
Yeah, no,
it's so fucking small.
I'm not having read at least some of White Fragility. I'm not fully convinced that she's a grifter. Like, it does seem like she believes her own bullshit.
That was my impression too. That she's
which makes her the worst kind of grifter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's not also grifting in it, but I think her sincerity, like that, I think that really is what's in her head.
I don't think you can grift and be sincere. I don't think you can like be sincere about your beliefs and then grift. If you're sincere about your beliefs, you're doing something else.
I think you can be sincere about your beliefs and express them, and when you notice the response to them, you can grift off of them after that.
Oh well, yeah,
but she fails to acknowledge points.
What's her name? Robin? What? D'Angelo?
D'Angelo.
Yeah. D apostrophe
A-N-G-E-L-O.
Yeah. Oh, well, hold on. I got the
white fragility. She'll come up.
All right, it popped up.
Let's see.
Okay, no, I don't know.
So let's say if you just like probably type in Robin and then D, it's probably
she popped up all over the place.
Yeah.
Where did I put that?
She is very much a target of both left and right wing critics.
Oh, there's a sticker in front of it.
I mean, I criticize if you consider that targeting her. Otherwise, I don't even think
you
about
can see it there.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like criticizing her. Yeah, D'Angelo.
Oh, yeah, I criticize everybody though. I don't.
I'm aware, but I mean, like the fact that she has gotten heavy criticism from both the left and the right is, I think, worthy of note.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Though, admittedly, she hasn't gotten. Oh well, I guess recently she's gotten a lot more criticism. But I know that like when her book first came out, there wasn't as much of a hubbub about it. Because I remember a couple years after her book came out, I remember, some people on the right, talking about it. Oh, it's crazy. And then I remember some people on the left being like, oh, no, but White Fragility is such a good book. You should all read it. And now that tone has shifted a bit, thankfully. But
I just looked up a little 2 seconds. That was short, but I judge people quickly. Don't shoot me. Is she saying that white people should feel shame and don't feel shame enough?
Yes.
You can't sell it. You can't sell it.
And she's saying what you said, that white people have a difficult time having the race conversation because they get defensive.
That's more of her point right there. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
She's very bad about Joe, actually.
No, actually,
she's very bad about making that point though. Steve, you're right. She makes that point, but the problem is the way she makes it is so bad that it comes off as she's saying white people shut up.
So a good example of that is her discussion with a school principal, right? So she walks into the school and sits down, and lo and behold, there's a black principal in front of her, and she's like, "Oh wow, he's black," and all this other stuff. I can't remember word for word, but it was actually like an incredibly racist thought process.
Oh yeah.
And what she does is she transposes her own sins onto the fucking reader.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Like this is why all white people are racist, because I'm racist.
Yeah,
that's interesting. First of all, the guilt shit. I agree that white people feel it, but it's weird as fuck. There should be no guilt. It is what it is. If she's selling it, it has a purpose. It's fucked up. If she's saying that it does exist, good, motherfucker, get over it and discuss the shit. I'm sorry, I fell apart at the end.
I want to read you guys something if you'll bear with me though, if that's okay, because this is actually funny. So this is by Albert Murray, the Omni American, black author, and so what he says here is in one of his essays. It's the very back of his book. It's almost like people don't notice it, but the title of the essay is called "The Problem Is Not Just Black and White." And this explains Beverly D'Angelo and all the other white saviors of the DEI movement. But he says, nowhere do the smug assumptions which underlie the ideas of white supremacy work more insidiously than among the so-called American liberals, the self-styled friends of the Negro. Their methods are rooted in jargon of social justice and social science, their judgments based on tricky statistics, their proposed solutions basically materialistic, and seldom, if ever, do they ever stop to consider the Negroes as people. Instead, these authors' good intentions become so enmeshed in misinformation and guesswork that their books wind up preaching the same false generalities as white supremacy. The only difference is their attitude is condescending rather than malevolent.
I don't know if it's true or not, whether one is worse or better than the other. He has a good argument. Yeah.
That has to fucking sting. That has to sting.
I have actually heard that quote before. It's very
I'm surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That gets tossed around like circles all the time, because I first heard it from like there was some like right-wing person quoting it somewhere, because he was like shit talking liberals. Yeah, which like correctly, that guy did turn out later to be like a raging fucking racist though. So like, you know.
Yeah, you could have saw that one coming.
Greg Thomas does a really good job. Excuse me, Greg Thomas is a friend of Sheena Mason's too, but he is I would consider him an Albert Murray scholar, because he loves Albert Murray, the Omni-American, jazz music, all this other amazing shit. And Albert Murray's argument was that Black history is a part of American history. Like jazz music is American history.
I don't know anybody that disputes that.
But no, you know, I hear that Black History Month bullshit. People think it's a good thing. It shows me that they are unaware that Black history is just part of history.
It shouldn't be part of America.
No,
I think they're objecting to the politicization.
I have heard arguments from people that all of the things that Black people did in the United States, or at least, you know, the ones that people come up with, were actually done by white people. And like usually there's a myriad, there's usually like a myriad of like conspiratorial reasons. I'm not saying these are people making good arguments. These are people making like very
they do make the argument.
But they do make the argument.
It's like the argument of when the white guy tells me, Joe, the most persecuted man in America right now is the white man. It's horrible, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck would you say that? Because I went to get a job, and he never did, but they all tell the same story. I went to get a job, and they told me if I was a Black man, I could have got that shit. It's turned around. You guys are the racists now. We are the victims.
Also, I just don't believe those stories, because anyone who would just...
He has one.
I mean, I'm sure Denizen like probably assumed that, but I don't think anyone would. Like,
well, why are you not? You didn't even hear the story, so why?
And Denizen's an honest man. If he says he did,
well, no, I've. So first off, I was here when Denizen made that story, or made that claim, and like I'm sure that like he feels that he didn't get that job. However, the interviewer, if an interviewer were to tell him you didn't get this job because you weren't Black, that's like kind of really illegal. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Like,
and you said he feels too, and I saw he was very emotional, so his feel could clouded something.
So he didn't say feel. I'm saying he.
No, I'm saying he feels. You just said he feels, and I agree. I felt the same thing. Oh, he really feels this shit when I heard it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's impossible to happen. I'm sure that of the hundreds of millions of Americans, that's happened at least once, if not more.
Yes,
But like,
but however, it's a fucking poor argument. It's more that same argument with the white chick that I was just talking about.
It's kind of every time I hear those stories, I just like add on like and then everyone clapped. Like it feels like one of those stories every time I hear them, because I hear them often.
I remember when I got out.
One of those stories.
What, Chuck?
Okay.
I remember when I got out of the service, and every job I tried to get that was in line with what I knew, I kept getting refused job after job.
Yeah.
And when I finally would needle them down, they said, it's because you have too much education. You're one of those people that we would eventually have to pay more to work here, and that's not what we want.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, they can say that. That's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal to discriminate.
No, it's not. The
based on
Supreme
education.
Court rules. You can discriminate against intelligent people.
But would they say that
for a while?
Yeah, for cops. If it was for cops, Joe, the Supreme Court ruled that cops can have an IQ limit, because there was this guy that wanted to be a cop, but he had a really high IQ, and the department said, we can't hire you. You're too intelligent. We only hire cops under a certain IQ. And he sued, and the Supreme Court's ruled that they could do that. They could put an IQ limit.
their justification for
Also-
doing that was that intelligent people get bored with the job too fast. That was
Something
the
like that. And
that's
Supreme Court
the
backed them up.
exact
They're like,
reason I
that's a
studied that
legitimate
shit.
justification. You can continue to do that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. That kind of stuff, like it. I don't know that the police, whatever that police station, that what their actual reason was. But I can speculate.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we
Go-
do a
do
lot of speculating. You speculate too, so I don't know why
yeah, I agree.
you're getting on
I
me
don't
for
try to pass
speculating.
it off, but go ahead. I don't want to derail us.
I always pass it off as speculation.
Why do you think that they did that?
I mean, I think it's
Spit it
because
out.
more intelligent people, more educated people, rather, are less likely to engage in bullying and racist behavior that cops often.
It's for racism. Like they didn't want smart people to be cops because they would see all the racism. They couldn't keep their.
I could go a little more into depth.
Actually, this is actually kind of a problem with police, the policing in the United States, and whistleblowers. Whistleblowers within police like stations and stuff will if they like they see a cop like breaking a law, like I don't know, beating up a black inmate or something, I don't know, I just made that up, doing something that they aren't supposed to be doing, when those kinds of cops will attempt to come forward, they are severely punished by both their fellow police officers and by the station itself, and usually the police unions.
Yeah, well, that's corruption, but that can all be.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't think that's the norm, unless you're saying
smarter
that.
People. Sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I wanted to hear what you're saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
He was saying they don't think it's the norm, but it is.
I don't think that what he's describing, the corruption he's describing, I don't think that's the norm.
It's the absolute norm. Any, I shouldn't say any, but almost every whistleblower cop that has come forward, they are not rewarded. They've gotten in trouble. There's a lot of good shit on it. I got a lot of good video shit on it now.
Yeah, I've seen countless examples, news stories or whatever.
Okay, well, it's still a narrative.
Let's narrow it down to racism. Let's narrow it down to procedure. So intelligent people are going to find more problems with procedures.
That's what it is.
Not so intelligent people.
Intelligent people ask questions.
Why something is happening, and they're going to question it. They're going to be loud about it, because if they think it's wrong, they're not going to follow it.
And inherently, inherently, in the writing itself, it differs. The Constitution says some things. You can have guns, freedom of speech, and make no laws doing this. And then you'll have a federal law that might change something, and a state law that contradicts that stuff. An intelligent person, he's got to ask questions and make his own judgments. There's no room for that. The dumber motherfucker will just follow orders, and that's what makes the system effective.
Yeah. Jeff, what were you gonna ask?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was gonna say it's one of the actually things again that the U.S. military has improved upon in recent years, not to a perfect degree, but whistleblowers within like military who will like be like, oh yeah, my superior officer beat me, or actually this is a really common problem in the United States military of sexual assault allegations not being taken seriously, and actually the people who promote the sexual
I have a good example. We have Steve and I have a friend in the VA that is being under, it's something really to DEI. He was taken off of some position because his comments were deemed racist, and the employees were unsafe, and blah blah whatever. And so he went through the VA process to appeal or have it investigated, and the appeal process was corrupt, and he exposed that, and then they did something else. So now he's trying to go public to expose what's going on in the VA, but he's on the receiving end of charges of racism.
I got some people.
He's married to a black woman. Like he's on the receiving end of accusations that he's in no way guilty of.
Wait,
and
hang
the
on.
system is not working like it should be to exonerate.
Yeah.
So first
There's
off,
some
really
of
fast,
us who particularly battle VA. Totally channels are totally dedicated to battling the VA. You should probably put your guy in touch. I know some people he could talk to who would at least get it publicized. Yeah.
Definitely, because I'm trying to get him to come on here. And
also worth noting, not that I'm saying he is racist. I'm sure he isn't. However, saying that just because he's married to a black woman means he isn't racist is not a correct argument.
He's not racist, but it is a point in favor of the person not being racist.
It is a point, but it is not near a definitive point, considering that
it would be good enough for me if somebody's racism was in dispute and somebody said, well, you know, they're married to a black person or they have black children. I'd be, oh, okay, yeah.
Don't, Jeff. I got plenty of friends who are racist who got black kids because they married some black dude and stuff, and they are still racist and hold all those racist values.
Well, they got issues going on, and those cases don't.
They have issues, but you know who else. But like, I can go to like the extreme and talk about how there were examples of in Nazi Germany Jewish Nazis, which square that.
Yeah.
and these people don't think they're racist.
My friend is not a racist.
I don't believe you, but that's not
the. And so I was giving it as an example of what y'all were talking about.
I wouldn't want to make anything towards your friend. But what I took exception with is when you were saying if they said that, that'd be good enough for me. And I want you to don't let it be. I'm telling you, I know people.
Like, don't tell me how to evaluate and critique reality. I have that down. I know my process. I know how my brain works. If somebody told me that, I know what my response would be to it. It's not going to change just because you think it should be different or you think I shouldn't use that as a definitive enough marker.
Yes, I wasn't trying to make you do a thing. That wasn't. I was just trying to chase some logic here. If your logic was if they say that they're not racist, I would just dare say.
First of all, I don't believe most. I believe like 99% of the people in America are not racist. So I don't go.
I believe 99%.
So if somebody told me somebody was racist, they'd really need some hard evidence.
I mean, it also kind of depends on what you mean. Like, there's different scales of racism,
right?
I think. So
and different definitions because it keeps changing. But the racism I'm talking about is like you can't discriminate under the law, or you can't discriminate a public service, or if you're an employee, you can't discriminate against customers for the colors, etc. It's a
what is definition do
legal term baked into our law. So the way people feel psychologically about different
racism is not
talking about.
Racism
it's the acts they take that fall outside of the law.
Wait, is racism defined in our legal code?
Yeah,
discrimination is.
Well, I know discrimination.
And the categories that discrimination can apply to are.
Can we use this as definition of racism? Believing one race is better than or less than another.
Yeah, that's the one I operate off of most frequently.
I think that's supremacy, which I guess is a form of racism, but I don't know because y'all are the ones with the more broad definition of racism.
That's the definition that I use, and under that definition, a lot of people, white and black, fall under that category just by ignorance. So I don't consider them. They have no malice toward a black motherfucker.
I don't think that kind of racism.
I don't care if people think their race is superior. That doesn't bother me if they think that. I think my culture is superior. I'm a Cajun supremacist. I don't know why anybody would not want to be a Cajun. I think it's the best culture in the world. It doesn't bother me that people are attached to their culture and they kind of have this cultural chauvinism about it.
Cajuns fall lower than blacks do on the scale. What are you talking about?
Yes. Sometimes the black people would use the Cajuns to like make themselves like, at least we're not Cajun.
Yeah.
Cajun must be really bad.
And racism can also be different. Yeah, racism can also exhibit itself different depending upon your location as well. So racism in the South is going to be drastically different than racism, say, in Utah. Where racism here is very backdoor. You don't say anything publicly. It's all behind closed doors. Whereas you're going to have more outward or overt racism in areas like the Deep South.
Yeah.
So racism can change dependent upon the culture and the location that you're at. But one thing that we know for sure is it's this misidentified belief in a imperceivable value difference.
Yes.
Also, it is worth noting, even though I do think that racism is still a pervasive problem within the United States, we are at the very least doing better than a lot of other countries as far as like the general population's
pervasive.
I have a question with what Steve just said. Would you say a perceived value difference? Value is subjective. It's assigned subjectively. There's so many factors involved that it varies so much from individual to individual. How can that be? I guess how can you moralize about somebody's valuations of things? If somebody values black skin differently than white skin or Asian skin or whatever, it's just subjectively.
Right. So let's not conflate the two different definitions of value here, because one can be a value of importance and one can be a value of worth, and the worth is the one that I'm talking about.
Okay,
so
I agree with you. I agree with you, but there are some people that they probably still do that, value it at less worth. What do you do about it? That's happening inside it. Like, we can't control people's psychology.
You have conversations with them and you try to attempt to educate or at least.
But there's no policy response that's required or would even be effective.
Well, CRT, we need it in every classroom. I keep telling you, Jeff, CRT would help.
CRT. Oh,
but okay, I wouldn't have a problem with classrooms if it was conversation like Steve just described, but that's not what it is. I mean, I look at it,
well, that's what we do. We try to change it. We try to change the conversation.
And I agree. I think like now we are kind of at a point where most legislation, we're kind of past the point of legislating to sort of stop racial discrimination.
We should be. It's not really a thing.
We already and have had for a long time consequences. Yeah. We've outlawed it. Yeah. If you identify, we have consequences for it, and that's been.
It just takes it behind closed doors. It didn't change mentality. You're just too smart to say it out front now. But people still think the same way.
We need to just enforce the policy we've already created to address the issue.
Kind of. I'm gonna push back.
I don't know why.
I would too.
Public, that's the people that are enforcing the policy. Go talk to them about racism and that.
I'm a firm believer. I mean, I'm a very, very firm believer that what the Civil Rights what the Civil Rights Movement did was amazing. Don't get me wrong; it was fucking amazing. But the problem is once you started to incorporate that into law, all we did was put a Band-Aid on a problem that we did not fucking address properly.
It was a horrible idea.
That was the perception of race, the perception of the value of races was not dealt with. We just created punishment.
It was a net loss.
How do you control that? Like, if we want to address it, what can we as a society do about how people see things? That's out of our control.
All right, here's one.
Change public opinion slowly over time through communication and effective arguments that are better than the ones that are being presented.
Which is what we're doing, but what could the state do outside of that, other than
I think the government should be the shining example. They shouldn't be making no fucking laws about it, but you should be showing me what true inclusiveness looks like and all of that shit. That'll be a start. Confucius had a really good quote about that.
Many people I know already show that. They've shown it my whole life. Like, that's been the norm.
Well, it's all the politicians are all old white-haired white men. That's been our politician for you. How do they show inclusiveness in fucking politics?
We voted a black man president.
About the old white man, like that's from not the present. That's from past. I mean, generations.
No, I'm talking about now. What do you think it shows women in other races, especially in those powerful
because they are responsible for the interpretation they get when they look at. If they want to see a room full of people and like weave the narrative that that's a bunch of white men and that means this and that, they're responsible for that. Not me.
It's a real thing. A 90-year-old white man doesn't know about YouTube laws. Like, it's a real thing worth considering.
How they look to women and children that are watching, like instead.
No, it's not because of what they look. I can assume that if there's a room full of white-haired old men and there's legislation that needs, hold on.
What is inside the mind of each
hold on, I'm going to put forth something saying I do know something what's in their head.
When you just
okay, well, let me say it, then call it racist.
White men.
Let me say it, then call it racist.
Individual merits, that sounded racist to me.
Well, listen to the whole thing and then accuse me of sounding racist. You're making their group
characteristic as white men more important than them as an individual.
All right. Can I say it now? If I see a bunch of 90-year-old white men, and there is some legislation about YouTube, TikTok doxing, I can assume that these guys are not very fluent in it. There's an assumption just by looking at them. Am I wrong?
I don't know. It's not an assumption I would make.
Okay.
Well, it's an assumption about their ability to learn.
There's something to be said there too.
I mean, have you looked at our Congress and the things they clearly haven't learned lessons?
Right. From visually looking at something. What intellectual conclusions am I supposed to draw?
We do it every day. When you see me, you think that nigga like rap
Unless
music.
I'm a racist.
When you see some guy with a cowboy hat and boots, you assume he works cowboy music. You could be wrong. There's no sin in that. But there was no sin in me making an assumption. I'm probably right that the guy with the saggy pants is more likely the guy that listens to rap music. Ain't nothing wrong. I'm not a racist for thinking that. That's how humans grew up and lived all their lives and survived.
Well, baggy pants are more like a cultural thing with like rap.
I would agree, man. Any cat with their fucking pants sagging down or a certain way they talk, it makes me think certain things about them. When you oh, bless your heart, I think that woman can cook some chicken. That's just me.
She definitely can. That or pasta.
Right?
That or pasta.
Seeing a picture of Congress with all white men doesn't make me think any one particular thing. So whatever y'all are seeing, I'm just not seeing in it.
Okay.
So I think the argument that Joe's making, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, is that we all make assumptions about people, but whether or not we act negatively or beneficially off of those initial judgments is really at the core of what I think Joe is talking about. I can walk into a room and see a bunch of people dressed in cowboy hats and cowboy boots and stuff like that. I can make an assertion. I can make an a priori kind of argument that these people probably like country music, right? Would it be wrong for me to just turn on some country music and just assume that they're going to be okay with it? No, it wouldn't be. But we all make these very, very minute kind of judgments based on our culture, based on who we feel we are, and what happens is it becomes wrong when we make active decisions according to those judgments.
I'm happy when the country guy likes rap music. I'm thrilled. There was no nefariety, no bad intent there. It is what it is.
Racism perception or act? Because I see racism as if somebody has the perception of racism in their mind, I don't know about that's invisible to me. As long as they don't take an act, it's like pedophilia. As long as they don't take an act on it,
that was dope.
Hey, Jeff.
But it's like society has shifted from policing racial actions to now policing the precursor to them in the mind, and that is disturbing to me when society starts to police the mental states of its citizens.
I'm with you on that.
Where you going with that?
All right, let me ask this: what's y'all's opinion? If you think this is racist or what you would call it? When my daughter was in high school, there was a Black History course being taught, but because she was white, she was not allowed to take it.
Racist as fuck.
That's really racist. What?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Racist as fuck. Yeah.
In fact, that's why I don't like Black History Month. It should be included in all fucking history. Things they happens. It sucks that we put all this baggage on him. If I say that was a Jim Crow law, motherfuckers start feeling all insecure and acting weird. It's just a statement of something that happened.
Yeah.
Jim Crow was a Democrat, wasn't he?
I'm talking the Jim Crow laws where they would exclude black and white folks.
I know. Chuck doesn't believe in the party switch or anything like that. I know.
That happened too.
I was being facetious.
Oh,
were you? So you're not. This is an argument that Democrats are the racist party.
I don't know. I don't know which side Crow. I mean, I don't know if Crow was a Republican or a Democrat.
There's good arguments on both sides of that. I like the Republican racism too. Is that in your face? We're going to take away your right to vote shit. The Republicans do some interesting racist shit too.
Okay, sorry, Chuck. I know I've run into too many people who don't believe that the parties switched from like right and left in like the.
Oh, they did. I know they did.
Okay,
There's no doubt.
I see racism on both sides currently.
Well, yeah,
I'm not
sure.
convinced of it, but
Somebody
I'm
said
not
the left
averse to the
shit
idea.
very good earlier. That's exactly how that benevolent bullshit on the left. He's expressed that well.
Well, Steve,
Because you say KKK now, and it's automatically attributed to the right.
well,
Whereas
hang on,
back in
Chuck.
the day,
Chuck.
it was actually a left.
Hey, Chuck,
option.
you know who
Yeah.
David Duke is?
Oh, good
Yeah.
God, David Duke.
Yeah.
Is that Flo?
Yeah, I know Dave.
Does David?
I was
Does David?
there. I was.
Hey, you gotta
I was
watch
a
it.
voter.
I know white people all look the same. It's hard to
They all
tell.
look the same.
Chuck,
Yeah, I'm listening.
does David Duke vote for Republicans or does he vote for Democrats?
I have no idea.
He votes for Republicans.
Wait, what
That's
did
what I
you
would have
ask? Lynn?
assumed.
Well,
does
it possible? Is it possible that not necessarily the party switched, but the people who belong to the previous party switched? So what I mean by that is so the KKK was originally a Democratic, a Democrat-run group, right? What happens if they switch, but the parties themselves don't?
Is that a thing?
That's happening.
Yeah.
Now.
Then we're placing a value of the Republican Party based on the people that chose to join that Republican Party, and you can make
that
the
was
argument
the point.
I would make the argument,
views,
yes, that is how you would determine. That's how you determine the actual values of the party. Is you look at sort of like an aggregate of the beliefs of the people. I think like looking at their party platform is like all well and good, but the way you actually determine their actual beliefs is you look at the actual politicians of the party and you figure out what like.
Let me put forth the belief. I think I'm gonna get some pushback on this. I say that Trumpers are racist. Make America great again really means make America white again. Anyone dispute that?
I dispute that. I don't think it depends. It depends on the Trumper. It depends on the Trumper.
I got one. I didn't expect a lot of support on that one.
I came up here because I want to know how eclectic JoeCool's playlist is. You said something about rap, and I guarantee you've got an eclectic weirdo surprises all over your Spotify.
I do. I got fucking so much Billie Eilish and crazy shit on there. I get so much shit.
Really fast, y'all. I actually have to go. I might be back later, but thanks for the convo. It's been good. I'm sorry, Flo. I wish you'd come on earlier. We could have talked more, but
I came earlier, and I'll come again later.
Nice to hear.
The tot starts.
Y'all be well.
Be easy,
Later.
bro.
All right.
No, but
Love that
I forgot what I was
dude,
going to
yo.
respond. I forgot what I was going to respond to, but yeah.
So this is how you feel, JoeCool, when you join the panels and then people start leaving.
Hey, no, see? Hey, Flo, check this out, Flo.
Viewers too. We lost.
I think you did miss something special because
It might
it's
be
always. It's I know Lindsay, Jack, everybody leaves when I show up.
Oh no, Lindsay's mad at me now. She's boycotting me.
What's going over? What's happening?
I ain't got nothing to do with it.
I heard
It wouldn't
something
be
about
with
that.
Yeah, you do, Joe. It's all you.
What's going on with that? I don't know. She showed up in my chat yesterday, and she's at the beginning of my stream. She goes, "I'll be expecting your apology. You have my email address," and I said, "Bitch." I said,
"What does she think?"
You said when hell freezes over.
I said I don't need an apology from you, but I'll be goddamned if I'm going to apologize for your transgression.
Then you do know, you do have an idea of what occurred. Tell us, motherfucker.
I know when she got mad. She never actually said what
I'm not sure the reason. I know the situation, but I'm not sure the actual
got mad
reason.
Earlier 2 days ago, because I went up on Jack's panel, and when I went up there, Grace Thorpe was up there. It's got something to do with Grace Thorpe.
Oh, I'm not even. We could talk about something else right now.
I don't know, Grace Thorpe.
This is a Thorpe free.
Sick.
Flo, I was gonna say if you had got here early, I think you'd have saw something special. And it shows me that some of these guys are smart and wise and shit. I always say that you can't have a conversation about race. I say this everywhere I go because generally speaking, white motherfuckers is so fucking sensitive. But if we didn't have that sensitivity there, we could talk about a lot of stuff. And this conversation was no sensitivity. We got to talk about everything and anything. I thought it was great.
I mean, I think that you're right. White people are sensitive now, but you have to acknowledge that when you bring up race conversation in America, it is a accusatory conversation.
I agree with that. That was my assertion. If we can get out of our baggage, white guilt, black superiority, because we think caveman and shit. If we can get out of that bullshit, we can talk about things and actually figure out causes and effects and try to get up out of that shit. Fuck that place of blame shit. All right. Yeah, that guy bright too. I'm impressed. I don't know him. His name's Steve. Yeah, see, Flo, the panel killer. See that?
I had asked earlier, like, what we can do, like right now. What's one thing that just ordinary people can do?
Yeah.
For what?
Stop, like, to whatever version of racism you think is happening. What's one thing we could all do right now?
Well, we could send black people back to Africa.
That's a start. I think, and it sucks, Jeff. I think because I know how you're against. You might be against this. You would have to really, the average person, black and white, would really have to study some real history. I don't know if
the average person's going to make that investment.
I don't think they will. But that's what we'd have to do. Once we familiarize ourselves with it, then we can converse intelligently about it. Yeah. If we don't familiarize ourselves with it, like most people, they're content in believing it may exist, it may not. So they can't change anything. The person who is absolutely sure.
I don't. If it exists, I think it exists on a very small scale, not on the scale and that you think it does. But then also, the type of racism, if it exists, that does exist, is the type that I asked Steve about, the perceptual type, like seeing black people a certain way. The actual acts of racism, I think, are even less now than they've been in the past. And I don't know what you can do to address the perceptual type of racism. Like, I think we have the racial, the act of racism addressed by now as a society. But it's like
perception.
Overt. Joe, do you agree that overt racism is gone? It's like,
I wouldn't say it's gone. It's never been the problem, though. Overt racism has never been the issue, even in the worst days of racism. The crazy KKK type, Nazi type motherfucker has always been the.
But I mean, on the books, you and I have the same law. Like institutionally, I suppose. I hate tipping into institutional racism, the phrase even, but institutionally, on the books, that shit's basically gone. That is.
I would agree. Generally speaking, I could argue that, but I would say that even more important is what Jeff is talking about. The perception part of it puts everything. It don't matter if it's on the books or not. It's got to be in the system, because the perception is black people will cheat, steal, lie. The perception is out there, and people are real people. It's gonna
you can't go
show
around
in their everyday job.
People's purity of perception, or make sure that they're having.
I agree with that. You can't legislate a motherfucker to morality. That's
you can do it through education. That's about the.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I like hearing when Joe uses the phrase, I could argue that point, because I've never heard anybody say a goddamn single thing that JoeCool could not argue.
Right. I'd love to argue
it. I've heard you take up some just desperately dying causes before just to have
just because somebody's getting beat up in the corner. I'll jump in and help them. Yeah.
But I mean, so I actually have the opposite opinion as Joe, and we've argued this before. I think that you need to stop giving it so much attention and pedestal. And if people just stopped acting like it was a thing, it would stop being a thing. Because I think it's a learned behavior.
That hasn't been our solution the entire existence of the United States. Ignore the way it doesn't exist. Haven't we been trying that for 250 years now?
No, not our whole life. Our whole lives, it's gotten a special place in America. It's got its own month. So you could say that we have been trying to do it, but not in any of our lifetimes. We haven't.
I thought a month was reflective that we've been ignoring the fuck out of it. We're gonna throw you your own month. I thought
I'm still waiting to know which history month is White History Month.
Every fucking month.
Are Italian people white?
Yes.
Are Jews white?
They already know.
The answer is
and they were oppressed.
The answer is shit.
Wait, both of those. I'm giving you the general
Ethiopian
answer.
Jews.
And
Jews are white. Not really, but yes, Jews are white.
I have the same opinion about all differences. Like I see that autism shirt up there. I think that things like that are all well intentioned, but will ultimately backfire because what it does is it highlights the divide between people.
Yeah, but do you have a solution then? If you're saying
place for that in identity building and differentiation,
I don't have a solution for people being individual assholes. I don't think there is a solution for that, except for a Talcottian one, which would be like
we already have a system that we can enforce when people are being assholes. There's consequences for certain actions. We have that already.
Right. There's consequences for certain types of asshole behavior. But what you're talking about is addressing people's underlying worldviews about how they view other people. And I just don't think that you can address anything deeper in people's individual psyches without creating a whole wave of new problems.
So we just let it be. I mean, if that's the case,
let it be. It's getting better.
Part of the world is that you encounter people who are assholes. Yes, I think you let it be.
So
I don't think you encourage it. I don't think that you make it stigma free. I don't think that you like make things like not crimes anymore. But I think that you just recognize that at some point, look. The last person I got in a fist fight with, it was because he was wearing a Raiders shirt and I made a joke about it. People are always going to look for tribal divides. You can't, that's human nature. I just don't think you can address that.
Well, let's say this. Maybe you will see an urgency in addressing it. It's so bad that this tribal divide, one group of people is making slaves of another group of people, literal slaves, like slavery days.
Oh, we're going back.
Yes. Do you just let it be, or is it, or do you just let it be then when people are being hurt?
Well, no, you don't. You don't. But I don't know why that's the question, because we're 200 years past that.
Because Black people in particular, all people are being hurt, and I can argue your arguments too. But Black people have a valid argument when they're being hurt, and you're saying just let it be.
No, but that's not the paradigm we're in anymore. If that were,
I would disagree.
250 years ago is not ancient history. Like, this is recent history.
It's far enough back that we don't need to act like it's still today.
250 years ago is ancient. Like, none of the generations.
250 years ago. That's like, how long has this country been around?
250 years. I said since the inception of this country, Black people have been second-class citizens. It didn't stop in your lifetime. Every white motherfucker thinks in his lifetime it got better and it was in the past. 40 years from now, they be like, them niggas was so racist. How they didn't know?
Worse in my lifetime. I remember, at least from my perspective as a little white kid playing Ninja Turtles in the 90s, I never encountered a goddamn bit of racism until I was probably 18.
Yeah. When I left my neighborhood as a Black boy, 10-year-old, I got called nigger everywhere I went. So I think it's very much better. It's at least underground.
So it's improved. Like, the education's working and it's not there anymore.
Well, Joe,
you're
81 or whatever. Would you say that if we overlaid what I'm saying about during my lifetime onto your lifetime timeline, would you say it's gotten better and then gotten worse? Like, would your timeline correspond to mine?
I think they're a little bit different. It's gotten better, yes, but it's gotten worse also. I don't know.
Where has it gotten worse?
Gotten better. So I have to point this out. Just because it's better than it was 250 years ago does not mean it's not at the point where we can't still improve.
Where is better?
We can't make the mistake of just saying that just because we don't see it in our lives doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
And I hope that I wasn't. I know that I was probably sounding like that.
I can say that if I don't.
Yeah, that's why I called it out.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I called it in. That was not a call out. That was a call in. I apologize.
I don't know the difference, but I accept it.
Calling out someone is like being rude and facetious and putting them down for the idea that they have. We're calling in is like challenging their beliefs, challenging their thoughts. getting to the bottom of why what was said, and we just did that. So
Joe,
it would be technically call-in culture.
Yeah.
Where do you see it getting worse?
I see it getting worse, and the how smart they got in hiding it now. It's so good.
What if it went away? That's what I'm saying. What if it's not hidden? What if it actually
You
worked
guys don't even
and
think it
went away?
exists.
I don't think
I shouldn't say
homophobia
you
went
personally,
underground. I
but a
think
lot
it
of people
actually doesn't exist is in the amount that it did.
That's what I mean. That's how clever it's gotten. That's why it's gotten worse.
Well,
They
I
gotten
think
so
that's just
smart
the
with
belief.
it.
That's the belief.
Statistics would totally prove you wrong. And
So-
and
How can
even when you hear the
statistics measure
statistics,
what
you
went
still
underground and invisible.
you're still gonna say, it's not that bad.
Well, at some point, I think that if you want the wound to heal, you have to quit picking the scab.
Do you gotta address the wound first? Can we do that before? Don't you gotta wrap it up and
Sir,
address it?
we addressed. We wrapped the wound. We pulled the knife out of it. We bandaged it. Then 60 years ago or whatever,
Where was I here?
60 years ago, we redressed the wound.
All right, here.
And
Let's
now
do
we're
examples.
Is
Fuck
it
it.
fixed yet? Is it fixed yet? Is it
No.
fixed yet?
We're gonna do this. You guys act like you don't know. Fuck it. We're gonna do this.
I'm in your corner here, Joe. Don't throw me in with these guys.
Okay.
Here, switch me and Joe's side so that Whitey can have a corner.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, nothing has changed. This war on drugs, it was started. Bunch of different shit, as we know it. Nixon sat in a room. He had some people was getting on his nerves. Black college students and hippies. Him and Earnhardt or Eaglebird. I don't even know the fucking names. And they said, "How can we stop it?" They came with they all smoke pots. If we make it a Schedule 1 narcotic or whatever on the board
Joe,
with heroin, hold on, let me finish. No, let me get it out.
I'm gonna lose it.
Okay, you go.
If it was black people and hippies, then it could not have just been race. It was other things besides race that was.
All right, maybe I was making a different point. All right. So what he did in order to do that, he legislated the war on drugs. He made pot way up here, and everybody could go to jail for it. He started that war on drugs nonsense off, and then all of the cats that came behind him did similar things. Under the name of the war on drugs, we got these crazy ass. All of them are tyrannical, any laws for drugs. But in particular, again, the racism shit clicks in when whatever drugs the black people prefer, they get harsher sentences legally on paper. So it's legally it's the same for black people and white, but because black people use crack more, by making it so stringent, it was really intended toward black motherfuckers. My point is,
to be fair, crack is really, really awful for everyone who does it. I mean,
do we agree?
Yeah. Has anybody ever seen Reefer Madness?
I mean, the CIA invented crack, put it
the
out
old
the street,
one, like from the propaganda one.
Yeah,
to people to stop
yeah.
stuff.
Like you could not tell me that was not racist propaganda.
But it's not.
I didn't say it wasn't racist propaganda. I'm saying but to be fair, crack is really, really terrible. So
we all know crack is terrible. Lots of drugs are terrible.
Yes, why did it come out? Right.
But look,
we know for a fact that the CIA planted fucking crack cocaine in black neighborhoods. We know that. That's literally on the fucking books. We know that.
And then they invented meth for white neighborhoods. You can say that was the origin, but you cannot say that's where it still is. Because I don't know, Joe, which one of us has been raided more under the war on drugs?
Me or you?
Raided for German soldiers.
I say me.
But
I've been raided 3 times.
3 times.
My house. My house.
Yes,
not
my
the house I was
times.
out.
I'm not talking about when I've been on welfare. I was just talking about my career 3 times. Yeah.
Okay, so we're even then. So we can say that the war on drugs has impacted this panel evenly, even though. Well, I guess that would still be more heavily.
No. You're just going by one metric there. War on drugs. Okay. I'd have to say how many times you've been stopped, how many times you've been searched. I have days where I've been frisked 3 times just because I was outside all day. That would be war on drugs.
Are others like mask yelling at cops?
No. Before I was in cop watching, bro. Just because.
The other thing I would point out. Hold on, before I pass it on.
Absolutely.
Yes, the CIA invented crack and put it in black neighborhoods. They also invented meth and put it in white neighborhoods.
And they also invented Nicaragua. It don't discount that they do racist shit.
No, Nicaragua was already there.
invaded. I'm sorry.
Germans created
invented?
Germans created.
I mean,
it's
it's
racist,
but it's also
Let's give him
anti-human
time to
too.
light.
Yeah, it's like.
Go ahead.
But the thing is that
No, I had a funny story about the crack thing. That was all. Just that. Yeah.
The problem is that, and this is the problem I see a lot is when we say, well, because this group suffers, this other group also needs to suffer equally. And I think this is a fallacy.
Exactly.
So you can identify each one of these things and say, okay, so let's argue for Flo's perspective here that meth was created for white neighborhoods. Okay, you can say crack cocaine was distributed predominantly in black neighborhoods. Okay, both of those things are fucking true. Both of them have equally disparate impacts on certain populations, generally the poor populations of those regions, but that does not distinguish the concepts that we're operating under, which says these were done intentionally. One was because of race, the other one might have been done because of race.
It couldn't be racial if they did it to other races.
So I actually think
it was specifically targeted at black neighborhoods.
And if you can kill two birds, do that.
At the same time, can we agree that who they hate the most is the poor?
How can we target black people?
No, I say hurt black people most.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Right there. Chris just
crack cocaine was also disproportionately prosecuted at higher rates than cocaine itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the cocaine was in the black neighborhoods, right?
No, I agree, but I really think that it has more to do with the hatred of poor people than it does of any.
No, you're right. I was trolling. You're right.
I do think there's racism. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that racism disappeared. I don't think that we've completely eradicated it or anything like that.
Jeff was making that argument.
But the only thing that I see, that I see consistently is that the policies and everything that happen for drugs and everything else, they disproportionately impact, yes, sometimes black neighborhoods because unfortunately there's more, because of systemic things from the past, there are more poor black people than poor white people, but it's targeted poor people more than it is targeted at a specific race.
I could give you that, but do you agree that black elements still exist? Black motherfucker, white motherfucker for the same crime. Black motherfuckers going to be given more time.
Yeah,
that's not because of poor shit. That's because of racist beliefs and shit that I hear.
I disagree with that. I think it's because of poor shit. Exactly.
If what's the advantage of it? If a white motherfucker, you already got him in the system, it's the same exact crime, still in the bike. Why does the white motherfucker get 1 year, black motherfucker get 2? What's they got to do with poor?
Anecdotally, when I was in jail, me and another white guy had the biggest charges against us. And both of us got probation. Neither of us went to prison. Both of us had family support, had personal money, and had private attorneys. And that's why
that's a big fucking thing right there.
Yeah, I was, and that you could say that's
a good argument. Money.
There's historical racism underplaying that, and I could agree with that. But I would say I was surprised. I was surprised to see the racial discrepancy at the Mexicans and blacks went to jail and the white guys got out. But it was definitely like the black dude who's my buddy, rest in peace. He didn't fucking even read his paperwork. We're sitting in jail. We got nothing to do. I couldn't figure out why the fuck he knew how to read. I didn't know why he wasn't reading his paperwork. And so there's some sort of thing there that I think is cultural.
So there's something interesting. There's something interesting that I do not like advocating for Trump, but I'm going to do this for the sake of this argument. So Trump was the only president to sign an executive order to investigate the disproportionate imprisonment of black men in prisons. Like Biden didn't do that, Obama didn't do that, Bush didn't do that, Clinton didn't do that. Nobody did it.
We're giving him credit for investigating a thing, or did he actually have to do a thing? What are we giving him credit for?
He pardoned
even suggesting that it needed to be a problem that we needed to solve.
That just sounds like some political maneuvering nonsense. Biden said the same thing. I was going to get rid of any people under federal drug weed crimes. I'm going to let them go. But when it came down to it, the criteria that people fit under his certain specific criteria, not one person fit the criteria. He didn't free nobody. He said he would. Everybody thought it was a good thing.
And since he's been running again,
we can always make the argument that for any Democrat or Republican, anything they do is for political motivation and has nothing to do with actual care about people. But I mean, nonetheless. I mean, because it is. I mean, like, because I don't believe that there's been a single president in my lifetime that's actually given a shit about any of the people that they're supposedly president of. But they specifically do things for political gain, yes. But if it does help the people, if it does help people, at least it can be. At least you can give them some credit for that. Even though, like, I don't like giving credit.
Have them up on stage to campaign for the party that did it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Sorry, go ahead. I was just talking.
Oh.
I didn't mean. I mean,
No,
I didn't interrupt you, but
no, it's
all I'm
fine.
saying is that no other president had done that before him, specifically addressing a problem within the
He
black
didn't address a
community and the black
problem.
imprisonment.
He made a promise that he didn't follow up on. Everybody does that. He didn't address anything though, right?
I thought he did pardon.
results of it.
Didn't he actually? He actually did pardon a whole lot of minor drug offenders in prison.
yeah, I think he did, and I think
Every
that Biden
President
has
does that
since then.
nonsense.
But since he's been campaigning again, Trump is the only person I've heard suggest the death penalty for dealers. Which,
I know. Yeah,
which was like an instant. I'm done with him. Of course, Chuck supports that. I think it's ironic that Chuck supports my channel. Also, would execute me.
Most dealers, by the way, would be minority, more racist bullshit.
I was we were looking through thrift store purses the other day, and we actually found a bag. I'm pretty sure was crack inside of it. By the way,
did you try it to find out?
To make sure, just to be sure.
I put it right back where I found it and walked away. I did not touch that.
When you're talking about legislation, though, can we all just agree for just a moment that however you feel about Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, their legislation to put to death convicted pedophiles is one of the best fucking pieces of legislation out there.
No, I don't believe.
Oh, I didn't even know about it.
With hate.
I didn't even know about it either.
No, I don't.
But I don't like it either, because I've seen enough of the criminal justice system to understand that, like, I have so little faith in their accuracy. They're just going to be whacking motherfuckers. They'll probably have a 50% hit rate.
66% in Illinois, when they got the DNA and they started testing it, 60% of the people on death row who they tested were not guilty. The governor, when he quit, he got rid of the death penalty. That's how guilty he felt about those statistics.
Well, I think the law specifically is specific about how it goes about doing that, and there has to be overwhelming evidence that person did actually commit the crime. They're not just going to put to death any pedophile.
But there already
they actually have
to
criteria.
It has to be.
I had no confidence in the
to get the conviction in the first place, and that's already, I have no faith in the criminal justice system. It's a racket. It's an industry.
They will abuse it if they can.
Yeah.
Something else that I think is
for-profit prisons is like one of the most egregious things that I can't believe that that's something that we allow exist in this world.
Louisiana,
like a violation of the 13th Amendment.
No, they're legal. That's the norm.
I know it's the norm. I'm saying it's terrible.
Checkpoints are the norm too, and I still don't know how the fuck they get away with checkpoints.
It's not like you hardly even notice it.
You don't notice it because you're not on death row, you selfish motherfucker.
I'm not talking about the death row version. I'm talking about the private prisons, the sheriff prisons.
I know you don't notice it because you're not in them, you Baphomet.
I'm just saying, I have more direct contact with the cultures that have than what y'all are talking about.
We are the cultures that have been.
I'm talking about the state of Louisiana with the largest prison system in the world, and they have private sheriff prisons that other states don't have.
I want to point out something else that will kind of help and help Joe's point, but I'll only to an extent, is that if we look at, and I blame rap music specifically as contrived to feed the prison industry, and I think that I do think it started gangster rap. I mean, I think that it started aimed at black people, but with Eminem, I think you had the introduction of we need a bigger population to feed this machine. And I think that Eminem specifically was,
Was Blondie in on it?
Blondie was not in on it.
Good points, Flo, and I agree with you, except that it was, I don't think gangster rap was intentionally started for that. I think people was just telling a story, but the record companies, they intentionally chose who to make popular and what to play because of all they chose the negative shit to blow up.
And I'll accept that as basically the same thing.
The problem I have with privately funded prisons is this: is like, if your business model is to make sure and to basically to maintain the population or grow the population of imprisoned people, you have a seriously fucked up, unethical system at play right fucking there.
That's why I spoke up about Louisiana, because they have that exact system in Louisiana, and it's not. I feel like it's being demonized. I'm not saying it's a great thing, but it's not the dystopian nightmare.
What's the rest of your shirt say? Autism is not a disability.
It's not a disability.
It's a sex position.
It's a different ability.
Disability. It's a different ability. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I used to produce rap music some, and I had a rapper named named Rick Royal that lived in my house for over a year, and he was actually one of the grandfathers of gangster rap. He spoke to Ice-T on the phone regularly. I've spoken to Ice-T myself because of this. That didn't have like any deep conversations with him.
I dusted Ice-T ass backstage at a concert. I smoked his ass. I can tell you the rap that I used. I dusted his ass.
But he told me tons of stories about the birth of gangster rap and stuff like that.
I attributed to Ice-T. That was why I contribute what we call gangster rap. 6 a.m, police at my door. Fresh Adidas squeaking. That's what I think is the first what we solidified as gangster rap song.
And this is why I think that it's contrived, because look at Ice-T. Look at all these people. He's an actor. His whole career.
Yeah, he was none of that. When he wrote that,
he really was.
Do you think he's working with the CIA?
Right now, yes, whatever. But when he wrote that, he was a nobody. He took a piss in a bathroom somewhere, and somebody heard him singing over a stall type shit. It was nobody. He didn't even have the raps made up. And someone asked him if he wanted to be in there. They thought he was a rapper. He had to hurry up and push that shit. He was.
I can't blame him for being on like Law and Order SVU. I mean, like I'd take that job too. You know?
He's an actor. Tupac's an actor. They're all actors. I said autism is a sex position. My girlfriend over here looks at me like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Katie, don't act like I haven't done the autism at you.
Right, we do the autism all the time. Stop it.
But back to a point you made, Flo. Even though we disagree on an idea, doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Yeah, I was fine with what you're saying. She thinks that I was using the autism question as an attack, like I would attack people for being autistic.
You would.
I don't know. I think you might.
Don't I do too.
Jeff, stand up for me here.
No.
He attacks Jeff all the time.
Man, he just threw you under the
he just threw me straight to the wolves. Okay, all you have no faith in my moral, whatever it is, anchoring, my moral anchor.
Frank's stupid.
Apparently, my subconscious doesn't either, because I was doing this fucking.
Like just jacking off a dick in the corner there.
Right. I'm gonna calm down now. Finish my anchoring.
Oh my God, Flo's a dick. Flo's a dick shaker.
What does your name mean, Flo? What's the pay Snowfire or Mitch what you owe?
Somebody paid to change my name to that because Snowfire and Mitch apparently feel like Tarek owes them money because he lost bets. I'll change it.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious.
I forgot it was there. I did a JoeCool.
Even more ammo.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get into the feds, like the feds that watch the YouTube. I keep applying for that job, and they keep telling me it doesn't exist. So I don't know.
Have you talked to Jones?
To Terry? Yeah, I talked to Terry, and he was like,
Terry seems like he might be a good one. You might try Snafu Snaps. I'm not entirely convinced that he's not affiliated.
Well, I'm just saying, I need a job, and I'm on the panels all the time anyway. I might as well.
What about Joshua Jones? If I were you, I would go for Joshua Jones.
If you threw a rock at a panel, you're gonna hit 3 CIA motherfuckers or FBI motherfuckers. In my opinion.
Has anybody ever listened to
2 Mossad agents?
Right.
Has anybody ever listened to Andrew Bustamante?
I've heard the name. I don't know where.
I love listening to that motherfucker. He's an ex-CIA operative, and right now he's retired. He says he's retired, but he runs a company called Everyday Spy, and he goes onto these podcasts and he talks about his life there, how we misperceive how the CIA operates. It's much much different than what everybody thinks. But he's like, go out and watch a couple of Andrew Bustamante videos. It's really fascinating.
In what way, what the average person thinks, and what way did he say it differs? Just quickly, if you can.
So he likens the CIA. It's just like any other government agency. It's like he likened them to the DMV. they're mostly inept, but they're good, well-intentioned people.
That's hilarious.
Katie, do you want to join?
We all think Tom Cruise.
You want to join the panel? You're over there making
more
noises.
like the post office.
When somebody's whole shtick is like being a personality who's ex-CIA, I feel like he's got to just be. It's just PR.
He's got to be over the top.
Go watch him. Go watch him.
Oh, I do watch him. I like him.
Oh, okay.
I think I think that he's got interesting input and he's kind of a fun personality. But I just don't believe the honesty in the story. I think
because
he's got to still be an agent.
Just like when I left the military, I had to go through a debriefing, and there were certain things that I had to swear that I would never talk about in the general public. I have no idea.
I mean, I've signed a lifetime NDA for my contract, so there's shit I'll never be able to talk about.
You know what I'm talking about, Steve, right?
You can't, Joe.
Yeah.
Well,
if it's not publicly released,
we just smoked out to
we just smoked out to him.
CIA.
Is that the cover? Is that how you know who each other are? You all have big luxurious beards. Those motherfuckers, tug on them. Those are probably fake.
Is that how it goes, Flo? Like that?
That's the don't look here sign, right? Like if it's
one of these is
if it's down, it's like you get punched if you look at it. If it's up, it's like okay.
What
side? Is it white power at all?
No, none of it was white power.
It was never white
contrived to make the Proud Boys a bad boys.
bullshit.
Bad guys. This has been okay for all of human history. It did not just start being
wait. You don't think some white power motherfuckers co-opted it and stolen it?
Why would they need
also
to signal each other like this on videos where they could have
no
all
shit.
this technology
Like,
to actually communicate?
So you know.
Yes. They would do that because that is what you're supposed to do it in public. You make public displays. That's big among them. That's why they would do it.
What about
a red hat?
Messages am I missing?
This is a gang symbol in my neighborhood. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean white power to some people. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean okay to some motherfucker. This is Gangster Disciple in my neighborhood.
You remember this one, don't you?
The guy who tried to get through his paperwork was a gangster's disciple.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't read his motherfucking paperwork.
That culture shit, bro. When I went in the 90s, I was of that belief that if you cross the viaduct, those are the op, those are the enemy. The shit you hear in these songs, I believed it. And I spent a few months in there and fell in love with everybody the same way I do on the fucking panels, and was writing those GD motherfuckers months after I was free. We were still exchanging letters. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
But that I don't believe.
I gotta get going, guys. I gotta get dinner ready.
All right. Listen, I'm gonna want ham. All right.
You what?
I want ham. You get dinner ready. Those
I
ham
also want ham with scalloped potatoes.
The scallops for flow. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
Coming through, man.
All right, Steve.
The gangster's disciple, who I was just talking about, he died recently from a heart attack after getting the you know what.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they're paying people in Kansas, they're paying people $15 each to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that everywhere.
You got to prove that was the cause.
Yeah, right.
Before I believe it.
Dude didn't even read his own paperwork. His family's not going to fucking do that sort of investigation.
Those guys been in there for years, man, and didn't have $400 bonds and shit to get out because they didn't have the family to pay it. Been in there for years, man. I was like, damn.
I think my mom probably ended up writing him more letters than his own mom. Don't you dare make jokes about that. My mom became the cell block mom.
Mail is everything, too.
You blew Steve's cover. He had to leave.
Your mail is like Gucci so and so on the outside. You getting mail and phone calls and visits. That's currency in there. That's status in there.
Yeah, but I mean,
how similar is the panel verse to prison culture?
Paul's panel verse quite
similar.
Yeah,
I mean, Paul, and that was my first observation about Paul before I even ever knew his fucking name. When I recognized that there was a panel that was playing turf games with We Are Awake TV, I was like, this is prison tactics, this is jail tactics, this is turf that he's doing, and I recognize it's a bad strategy for YouTube. Was that at me or was that at them?
We have.
Hi, guys.
Hey, girl.
Was that at me?
The lovely Cynthia has joined us. What's up?
Hello, hello.
Good
How are
night.
you?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Hello,
Hi, Cynthia. You didn't join my panel at all last night. Is it because you and Lindsay are mad at me?
No, I am working on my show for Friday, and it's on the Nickelodeon. And I just, first of all, on the show, they used one YouTube content creator's work for the show, and I just went to another YouTube creators page, and she's actually out there protesting at Nickelodeon right now. So it's kind of crazy how this story I've been working on, how it's kind of catching.
I just heard about
a lot of fire.
What's going on in Nickelodeon?
What are you talking about?
Exactly. That's what you did turn into my show Friday night. I don't know if you ever watched Josh and Drake.
I know of it.
You're talking about that producer guy that's been accused of molesting all those people?
One of them is inappropriate behavior, and he came out and testified he was the victim.
Like a Me Too thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know what's going on in Hollywood?
Exactly. Well, a lot of people apparently don't. And there's a major loophole, guys, that even if you are convicted of that, if you're a parent,
that's not a nice thing to call Macaulay Culkin the major loophole.
If you are convicted of that and you're a parent or a guardian of a child that is an actor on that set, you can still be allowed back on set because you're their parent or guardian.
Why is the kid back if it's happening to him? I don't know. The parents.
No. I'm saying any kid. It's a loophole. So the guy who was
if I'm convicted of SA, but my kid is an actor, my kid acting in that could be my ticket back onto the set.
Exactly. And so
that's up to the court if you're around kids or not.
Yeah, but
you're just getting it.
So
your parental right.
So the guy was convicted of it and off of Nickelodeon, and now he served 16 months for 11 accounts. And now he works at Disney on the kids' Disney Channel.
Holy hell, through a loophole.
Through a loophole.
Holy hell.
Exactly. So last night was the 3-hour show of That's Why I Wasn't on It. And plus I'm mad at Harmon. How is he on your panel? Mad at me when it was your panel that the shit happened on, but I was restreaming it, and now he won't come back to my panel. But it was really your panel.
No, I think that was your panel when he got mad.
No, It was you on Rumble, me restreaming you. You were in control.
But I don't think I was. I think you were in control of that one. I was just the one who was acting out. I was probably the one whose behavior he had most of.
Correct.
Stash has never been to my page. He's never hit my YouTube, my StreamYard link. He only hit yours. I was restreaming your Rumble. Anyways.
Right, but
no harm, no foul. And he coming to my show still, so
people that didn't have Rumble.
Well, the authoritarian in me is not happy about this.
Authoritarians are never happy about anything that comes with the turf.
Yeah.
Cynthia, before you got here, we were talking about racism. Do you believe racism exists? And is there a way to address it if it needs addressing?
You know, I've thought about that, and the only thing I can really think of is you just have to teach them young to get past it. Like you have to instill in their young
That's a good
lives.
start from here.
I mean,
You're right.
but I don't know. Like, I mean, no one taught me to not be racist. I had all my friends in the neighborhood and everything. I grew up most with black kids and stuff like that. I feel like racism is the thing that ends up being taught.
Right. The
My
racism
dad
is
taught
taught.
me
You just
not
have
to
to
be.
not teach racism, which
Like, because
like
I
even in my
never
generation,
had
the
any
early
I never had any
70s, none
innate
of us were
natural
taught
racism.
Okay, let me say it this way. You have to expose the young to different cultures so they understand
That
how to
sounds
interact
very
with them.
logical. Man.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I strongly disagree. I do
I
not
know
think.
you
I
do.
think if you did not expose kids to other cultures, they would grow up into adults that experienced other cultures for the first time open-mindedly and would not automatically be racist towards them.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
I
also
don't know.
think it's interesting that to point out that Cynthia didn't realize Mexico wasn't her country until like
I was thinking
she
about
was-
that again today.
I didn't know you're Mexican. I didn't know you were Mexican.
Yes.
but she's never been to Mexico.
I'm hungry.
Me too.
Yeah, well,
I consider myself very, very blessed. One of my sons, they love those exotic women, especially the ones that don't possess green cards. But I don't know why.
You mean
is the
illegal
furry
alien.
convention over yet?
No, it was Friday night, but I have all the footage. He's given me all the footage to shoot.
You didn't go to the furry convention?
No, I did my live Friday night, which turned
Yeah,
out to be
Flo,
one of
I'm
the
not
best.
buying that.
No, I have the footage, but listen,
Is it
one of
because you
them.
were scared of getting fucked by a
She's out
big
there
hamster?
fluffing
No,
her
he was
tail.
nervous. He was nervous about being there and performing after such a long time, and he was
The
kind of
hell
acting
y'all
like he
talking
did.
about?
My son's in a band. My son's in a band, and I usually go to all of his things, and he was playing a furry convention, and I was excited to go. But the more I asked about it, the more he kind of started getting vague about it. So I kind of didn't push it.
Oh, okay. Meaning you all right, you felt
And
like
then his
he
wife
didn't really
said,
want you there.
yeah. And then his
Yeah.
wife said she was lucky to be there, but to compromise,
Alright.
they shot footage because they know I wanted to use it for the channel.
They shot footage?
Yeah, they shot footage.
Yeah,
and he
I
said
like
it
it.
was one of the best he's ever performed, which makes me mad. I wanted to be there.
Yeah,
think
but I'm
that-
sure he got his reasons.
Oh, but listen, what I was saying is one of my sons married someone from Mexico, and then my other son married somebody from Africa. And so it's very interesting because both of their families are very immersed in the Mexican culture and the African culture. And I was thinking of how blessed I am to bring all of my
I agree.
grandchildren
What part
together.
of Africa?
Angola.
Where's that? Is that east or west?
Okay, it's up there by Peru because they speak Portuguese.
What?
They mean not
Peru's
Peru.
not
They
in
speak
Africa.
Portuguese.
Yeah, but
easier to try to describe it.
Okay. I was on a panel yesterday that was all Africans. I don't know if any of you met Kaizo. He's been on my channel once or twice, but he's he lives in I don't remember where, but he's in Africa, and so all of his panel members are always African. And I was about to land it somewhere, I don't remember where.
But that's good when you meet the different cultures, like Cynthia was talking about.
Right, but see, here's a perfect example. I was never exposed to any African culture at all ever until I was in college, and I met some friends who were Eritrean. And when I met them, I was curious about it. That I was, like, I think that most people would, but not at all like oh, I have never experienced this that bad. You know, like I just don't think that people work that way unless they're taught to work that way.
I think that's what we're saying as an injection, because a lot of people will be taught that racism shit.
But
they won't get to be 30 years
now.
old when they run into and start having it on their own. They will have been injected with it just by living life. I don't so if early on they can learn the lesson you learned at 30, if they can learn it early on, hey, different cultures are a good thing, everybody's cool, then they'll be inoculated against
Joe,
any racist rhetoric.
Kid in my kindergarten class in 1975 knew that. How come they don't know?
You're older than you look. I thought black didn't crack, but white's fucking not cracking either.
It's
Jeff,
amazing.
How old are you?
What did he say?
He said everybody in his kindergarten class in 1974. That was 2 years before I was even born.
That was 2 years.
All right, that was 12 years. That was 12 years before I was even born. This motherfucker is like JoeCool's age. Black does crack.
I thought
white,
we were
this
the
white
same. We were the same
shit here.
Joe, how old are you for real? We do the
Me?
hard hitting journalism here. How
Me?
old are you for real? Yeah.
I'm 56 years old.
I don't believe you because you had me think you were 84. I'm 53. I'm going to be 54 this year, so that puts you a couple of years. Like we'd be at the same high school together, and I just don't believe we're.
But Jeff, don't you know most black men don't know their age? Come on, you know that.
Because you have to swim to the middle of the pool to learn your age.
To learn it, right? Right.
Can't get their hair wet, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, without the water aspect, it was funny.
You got a newbie.
So Joe, do you think water is racist?
I was trying to come up with a joke.
Is it white people's water or is it black?
I was trying to come up with something.
They did have different pools growing up. Like they had a black pool.
When you were a kid?
Yeah, but it was voluntary.
You're
like
so
white
much
people
older
could
than you
go to the
look,
black
man.
pool, but no, they never wanted to. And the black people could go to the white pool, but they never did. Like a few of them did, and nobody said anything.
This is what's amazing to me. You are way fucking older than you look. I don't know what Baphomet is doing to you, but
black don't crack.
I remember my daddy taught me not to bring black people home.
Okay, Chuck, now that you say that, do you still have that same fundamental belief?
No, let me change that around.
Hold
What
on, am I
happened
the youngest
was,
one up here? Denizen and Chris, how old are you guys?
Mid-40s.
I'm 42.
Yep, I am.
Yep, you're
I'm
the.
36.
All you are old. All you old asses with your AARP card.
I have a compound question for JC.
Okay. It's gonna be good, I'm sure. Good.
But hang on, Chuck.
Why should we end racism? And if I have white privilege, why should I give it up?
That's a good question.
Tell us later. I guess.
This is what Joe's been waiting for. He's been crawling around the panel forever waiting for this question.
That's just good shit. I don't remember the question. It was so dope. Why would I give up my white privilege? That is dope. And I don't remember the first one.
Why end racism? Why should we end racism?
You said we. You could see some benefits to me as a black man wanting to end it. But I assume you mean we end it as a whole. Who is we though? It's not beneficial to end it. It's really productive. It makes money. It's control mechanism. It depends on who we is. There's a lot of benefits to keeping racism.
Are white people an actual majority, or are they just faking it like diamonds?
How about this, Joe? How about what if we just reclassified you and all black people as white?
Because if we're really a majority,
we just start referring to
racism benefits the larger majority,
and therefore you get all the benefits of being white without having to change it. We just call you guys white.
I can make an argument for ending racism. Actually, I did. One of my the paper that got me an A in public economics in college was about why end racism in a capitalist society, and it's because it's an economic inefficiency. because you're not choosing people for who's the best suited for the job. You're choosing them according to a different metric that's inefficient. So capitalism saves the motherfucking day again.
I
No, how does that
disagree.
hurt
I
me?
think it
Capital
no,
wise.
It benefits
more job
because
opportunities for me, higher pay for me. So, like where's the capitalistic downside for me as a white person if I have white privilege?
Well, I suppose that's still a point. It
as
would not
capitalism
benefit you
in
then,
a
but
whole, as capitalism as in a whole, it still benefits because of you need people fighting to keep them slaves, so they're not looking at what you're doing.
We don't have
The
slaves.
benefit of keeping them fighting by playing black against white still outweighs in a capitalist society. It keeps them docile.
I know I keep hearing about this white privilege thing, but I don't know where to get it from. Can anybody tell me where I can go get some?
Cynthia,
you're born
Joe
with
will
it.
tell you all about where you get it from. Joe knows where the white privilege is at.
Mine is white passing privilege, actually. It's not
And actually, Joe does kind of know where the white privilege is at because he knows when I lost mine.
You got a date with Flo lost his privilege.
Will you do a seminar on how to leverage our white privilege for those of us that haven't figured it out?
That would be great. That would be
dope as
fantastic.
fuck, yeah.
That would be a great live stream. JoeCool,
I want to learn how to be the best white person I can be. I want to be as good at being white as possible. And I don't think I'm doing a good job.
Teach white people how to maximize their white privilege. I think that would be a hilarious stream.
Here's the problem. Here's what white privilege is and why you cats don't see it. We're gonna go back into some 60s shit. Don't throw any gates up. But the black people are not allowed to sit at the counter and all of these things. They are doing a sit-in, a protest.
At the same counter.
The white people come in. They won't serve the black people. There's some lady, she's just taking her kid to school. She needs lunch. Because she's white, she gets moved to the front of the line. She gets some her lunch for her kid. She goes about a day. She's not a bad guy. She didn't even notice her white privilege. That's what it is.
Wait, say that again.
I still don't understand.
After the at the counter, they won't serve the black family, and then start from there.
But that's illegal. That doesn't happen today.
Well, he said 1966.
I'm doing 60s with the sit-ins and shit like that. Or you could have gave anything.
If you have to go back 60 years to find a good example, doesn't that prove the point?
You made our point for us.
I would say if you don't understand that or have some type of aversion to it, it proves my example. No one said, "Oh, I get it."
Can you go?
No one said that.
So agree with Joe
to repeat it, to be fair.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry.
Thing is black privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And have you not been to the hood? Have you not been on the court?
Okay.
You just being black. You coming to my neighborhood when I was selling dope. It's been a while. We see a white guy looks like he's square. We say double bubble means we're gonna charge him twice. You just coming in as a black person. You have black privilege on the court. You two people walk up. We're gonna pick you just on looks along.
You are part of the problem. You don't even need the CIA.
You want to see
again, why should I give up my white privilege
work against you? Pull out a pack of menthol cigarettes in the hood. See how many people fucking come at you.
Well, I mean, let the NA word slip in the hood.
I know.
Yes, there is your lack of privilege.
I barely got away with that.
Right.
In the 90s, electrician fella I worked with of the non-white variety. We had a little town and bar. Well, we had a bunch of bars in town, but this one particular one, he walked in after he got off shift, walked over there and asked for a beer. The bartender brought him his beer in a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
And he got the message real quick.
My message to white people is you're fucking up. I need you to start holding on to your white privilege. You're giving that shit up way too fucking easy.
I don't know where it is.
How can I hold on to it? When he got the beer, what was his reaction?
He sat down, he ordered the beer, and they brought it a 6-pack in a brown paper bag. And he looked around the facility and he made up his mind it wasn't worth the aggravation, so he just paid for his beer and left. But then a bunch of us got together and went in and stormed this place and took it over, basically, and bought
Like
this
in
man all the beer he
retaliation,
wanted.
in defense
Yeah,
of this. Wow.
yeah. We bought him all the beer he wanted because we outnumbered them. Yeah, that
cool.
just
That was cool.
yeah. But that's the only time I can remember in recent memory of seeing anything like that.
You know, I have
I
to
didn't
be
know this was
honest.
a culture hero.
Anytime I've been called a wetback has always been from a black person. I've never been called
No, I
derogatory.
got
What about Mojado?
No,
I
I've
got
never
thrown
been
off of
called derogatory names from white people.
I got thrown off a Flow show for calling you
What
that.
about Mojado?
I
Gringo.
don't even know
No,
what
not
that.
that's the white people. What's oh
Yeah, so I wouldn't pay
Mojado is
attention.
what Chicanos call people who come over the border illegally. It's what Mexicans call other Mexicans. It means wet.
Mojado. Agua.
Wetback refers to having to swim the river,
Uh-huh.
if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why Mexicans that already live on this side of the border call it mojado. That's
Ah,
the slang
gotcha.
for it.
No, but Cynthia, to answer your question earlier, I grew up in a upper middle class, completely white
No way.
neighborhood, and my dad worked with a black fellas. You know, he worked at a steel mill, so he had all kind of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy would come over to visit my dad. Now my dad would let him come visit, but he wouldn't let him in the house, and he'd sit out in the yard and drink beer with him.
Because he was
But
black.
yeah, and the reason being was he told that guy, "You got to be out of this neighborhood before the sun goes down. Otherwise, you might not make it out of the neighborhood." But my dad
What
caught
year
all
was that?
kinds of grief. Oh, let me think. That would have been in the late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah, we used to have a couple of sundown towns near where I grew
Yeah,
up,
we
but
did
like
too.
by the time I was a teenager, like they were mostly black, but there were more black people than there were white people there, so
And the
it
only
kind of
reason
went
Dad
away.
didn't let him in the house was because he didn't want the house burned down.
He
Why
thought he
did
was
change
burned.
happen so quickly?
Capitalism mostly. I mean, like it got to the point where like, you know, there was
Why
there's
did capitalism take 300 years to make change then?
Huh?
I'm just talking about with the sundown towns
Like we
around
had a
where we
long
were.
time without any real change at all. It was far too slow. Then
Yeah,
all of a
we-
sudden,
was
around
Well,
the
you could
time
say
that
that you
the
could just
Civil
say that
Rights
like
Act
human
passed,
history period.
shit
Like look at
totally
human history period.
changed within like a generation. It went from
Things
black people
things were
being hung
changing.
and not being
Things
safe in their own country to
things were already
certainly not the end of
changing.
racism by any stretch of the imagination. But you know, I had a black neighbor, and there was nobody writing shit on his. You know, he could go home and sleep in his bed just like me when I was a kid.
Right.
Dude, when my great grandmother was born, electricity still wasn't common. So I mean, like, it's not even like, you know, I mean,
When I was born,
time has moved very fast.
when I was
in
born, it
last
was
100 years.
illegal. Interracial marriage, I think, was still
Yeah,
illegal
there's.
in one
I
or
think
two
that I think that
states.
law is still in the books in some places. I don't think I don't think it's gets enforced, but I think that there's still states that have law in the books, which is just
Yeah, they
ridiculous.
can't enforce it though because of the 14th
Yeah.
Amendment.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
last year we just took indentured servitude off the law books in Tennessee. And all that meant was, let's say I owed Jeff money.
Yeah, I know, and
Jeff,
then he could make you. He could
Jeff
force you
could
to work
went
it
to
off.
court. Yeah, Jeff could have went to court, and they would have forced me to work for Jeff until I repaid him. It didn't matter what color you were.
I would have
It's
had
called
you
the
streaming
indentured.
all day and making my clips for me. And doing
It would have been great. I want that world back. I don't care. I don't care what color they are. I just want my
show up and
slaves.
turn on the camera.
They can be Irish. They can be Italian. They can be any color. I don't care. I just want slaves.
Hey, there was a class of white motherfuckers alongside of black folks at the time. There was only a hair away from slaves. They pretty much did the same shit. Blah blah blah.
Irish and Italian both had a huge prejudice against them back in the early Americas.
What do you think about that? The Irish and Italian. Now, a person would look back and think that was insane the way they treated them, spitting on them coming off the boat and treating them like shit.
I think it's insane that we've done that for human beings. Period. I don't think it's no more crazy to me than it is treating black people that way, or treating or the fact that we put.
I think it's the same.
Or the fact
Makes sense to me, actually. If back then I wouldn't have trusted the damn Irish either.
Do you guys remember World War II?
Yeah, the Japanese internment camps.
Walking around with my cane and my fucking pressed vest suit.
The SS St. Louis.
Boat
You remember the SS St. Louis? That was that shipload. The Germans, before the start of the war, the Germans put all those Jews on that ship and sent it all over the place, and no country would accept them.
Okay.
And so, on their way back to Germany, England and a couple other countries said that they would allow them into their country so that when the ship returned back to Hamburg, it was empty. But no, it took a long time. Cuba.
So people been heartless.
Argentina.
That's just the nature of humans to be heartless.
Yeah, I guess. So.
Well, to be in group bias.
Group bias, group thing.
Yeah. Right. And there's a survival reason for that too.
It's logical.
Most of our existence.
Anymore.
Anybody,
at the same time, if
anybody who didn't look
Jewish
like
people,
you and didn't come from where you came from started coming around, it meant yo ass for the majority of our history.
At the same time, in any of these situations, though, if you put a lot of money in that person's hand, they will no longer be facing discrimination because the money will overcome the racism every time.
It's all based on scarcity.
Fake scarcity, that shit Guru be talking about.
Yeah,
it's artificial now, but it wasn't always.
I'm saying yes. Right. Germany put all those Jews in that boat, but they were all poor Jews. So that's
no, they weren't.
They weren't.
They were rich.
No,
they were rich Jews.
Intellectuals, merchants.
Yes, all kinds. They thought they were getting out before all the damage would happen. Well, they were just chumped. They got chumped, is what happened.
I will never understand for the life of me any of that shit. Especially like anti-Semitism, people that are anti-black, any of this stuff. It just boggles my mind. There are individual people I don't like. There's individual people I don't like.
But not a group.
And I hate them all equally, despite their race, despite their creeds, whatever. But other than that, but to hate someone based on something so superficial is just so.
As a group, yeah.
It's such a basic ass thing to do. It's just
I'm trying to figure out that trans shit now. Why do people hate trans shit so much? I understand a lot of the arguments, but I'm not so sure of the anger.
This is what I think. I don't think they hate. I don't think they hate trans. I think people in general hate it when you try to shove something down their throat. Is what I think.
It's more than that. It's more than that, bro.
I don't.
It's more than that. People get really emotional when it comes to that.
It's the bully tactics. It's the intimidation. It's the obnoxious activism. It's all of that. It's not trans.
Yep.
If trans
the
people would
mutilation
just be trans and go about their life, nobody would care.
The mutilation of children is a big one.
And there's
for
the
me,
thing,
and I don't even have my own kids.
Those are particular issues.
Kind of makes me sick to my stomach.
I mean, that'd be an extreme. Like we talked about abortion, talking about the rape cases and shit. In general, most transes probably don't even have kids.
No, mutilation. The mutilation is common.
Well, I mean, trans are in period. I'm assuming most don't have kids, and I'm assuming most are not mutilating, meaning getting surgeries on their kids. They can't be true.
If someone identifies as the opposite gender, whatever the fuck that means, I couldn't give two fucks less. It's when people start making it they call it mental health to
Mhm.
give children hormones to block their puberty and have young women carve out their breasts
I get,
and
I don't
have
think
young
that's
boys chemically castrate themselves. That's when it starts getting fucking. It's wrong. It's more.
I get
I'm
it.
morally
I
opposed
get it.
to
And I think, and it's logical to be morally averse to it, but I don't think all the passion that I see from this is strictly because people have thought that part out of it, people mutilating the kids. There is a basic thing, kind of like gay. There is something basic there. And I don't really care what how justification. I know I see some basic there, that emotion that rises up and they want to damn near hurt them.
Well, it's destructive
let's
to their
do that
idea of
to
society.
address the issue.
Hey,
That's what I heard.
there's the man, the man,
Rachel,
the woman.
good
What's
time.
up?
What's up?
Jesse
the
had
woman.
Rachel's ghost, who of course is a trans, on they're interviewing today on the Missing Link.
What's the topic?
Oh, the
Why are
topic is
people pissed off at trans?
yes.
Why don't people like trans people? And I said it's not that they don't like trans people for the most part. It's the activism and the tactics.
And that was a good point. That's give it a good taste. Antifa vibe, Pogo Sogo, or whatever fucking snafu be saying.
People
Pogo
don't
optic
lose
or
their
something.
job or feel like they're in danger of losing their jobs because they don't use the right pronoun or they don't see someone the way they see themselves.
That would make people hate you. Yes.
You suck this lady dick or you're a bigot.
I mean, you're right. You're right, Denizen. You better fucking suck
The
my girl dick.
psychology shit.
Suck my girl dick.
I
You're
just-
a bigot. You're right.
I'm on the record already. I'd much rather have a trans 10 than like a
And ugly.
Than a cis
Yeah.
5.
yeah. I'm not hung up on that shit.
Facts.
Like if you can fool me into thinking you're a woman,
You're
that's
good
what
at it.
that's the point. Like that's what I like
was
women.
looking for
So
that. Hey.
you know what I'm saying? Like if I believe you're a woman, I'm down.
Well,
Now, if I get a little surprised when I go exploring, there might be an incident. But
I'm bad. I'm bad at driving. I'm good at cooking.
Chick. Yeah, my chick.
I'm very emotional.
those are it's only the bad things so far, Lib. It's only the bad stuff. You need it. There's another column, you know.
Damn.
I mean,
right.
I mean, all women have obviously is like boobs and vaginas. That's you know,
Damn!
That is
clearly
the only
that's the-
value. That is the only value.
Damn!
Well, I thought
that is kind of the majority of it. There's like an 80-20 there.
Boobs and vaginas like came back at the right time.
The breast and vagina is kind of like the 80-20, I would say.
One of Liv's points is he's good at cooking, though, and he said he's listening
Signed
to all
the
bad
human
stuff.
species. You know what I'm saying?
Better than us. My girl's not the greatest cook. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, get you
I'm,
a
the
better
one that
girl.
cooks, I'm the one that cooks in my relationship too. So it's
My
fine.
ex-wife wasn't a great cook. That's why I divorced her. I realized that because she's not good at cooking, she's a man. I'd married a man.
The real correct reason to divorce. Bad at cooking, divorce.
It looks like man can
I
justify
really made you
anything.
really like I'm not gay, so like let's gotta end this shit right now.
What is this? This is one of those bird's eye frozen dinners. I ain't gay.
Yeah.
Which is what she would do, by the way. She'd get the bird's eye frozen dinners and then she'd put in some garlic and think that she could fool me like I didn't go through college eating the bagged frozen dinners. Like I know what the fuck.
Hold on.
My girl
Is that
would be
her
proud of that.
hyperbole or are you serious?
My girl
I'm
would be
serious.
proud
I'm
of
serious.
that.
She'd before I got home from work, she'd throw that in the skillet and she'd chop up some fresh garlic and throw it in with it, right? And think that she could throw me off with that little addition.
So she essentially tried to fool you.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
And that was the,
Phoenix
that was
does the same thing.
That was the
No,
crux
she
of the
don't
entire
intentionally,
relationship. That was the
No, that wasn't the crux that ended the relationship, but it certainly didn't help us in getting there.
She'll literally grab something out the store in a carton and throw some seasoning on there and be proud as fuck of it, like she cooked her some shit, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And now Katie's such a good cook. I never eat out at all anymore. She's always making something awesome.
Wow, pretty cool. Maybe I can dream.
When you're young, all you care about is boobs and ass, right?
Yeah.
And the thought, like, can she cook? Can she not cook? It's like, who gives a fuck? I've been eating out of gas stations my whole life. I'll keep eating out of gas stations.
What's the number one attribute that for a woman with you? Now that fucking with her, I think it's sense of humor for me.
I think that's important. Like, I'm not an easy. I'm a disagreeable person. I'm hard to live with.
No.
I think that Katie is much more tolerant, and doesn't like even when
Easy going.
mad, even when she gets mad at me, like half the time I don't even know because she's not like blowing up and raging about it. She goes and cleans the kitchen, which is a fantastic anger
right?
response.
You're off on purpose. The kitchen's
I'll show
dirty.
this motherfucker doing all the dishes.
Start an argument to get the kitchen clean.
Loyalty.
Loyalty. That's big in the neighborhood, right?
I mean, that's got to be number one, I think, for everybody, because it doesn't matter how good a chick's sense of humor is. If she's got a good sense of humor, she's not
I can't
loyal.
do with the lines. You're right.
I don't even care anymore. I used to think I wanted a chick to be funny and this and that and the other thing. I don't even care if she can speak English.
When Joe said sense of humor, I assume that he meant she thinks he's funny, not that he thinks she's funny.
Yes, I think it's in the way Flo meant that she kind of tolerates me, and and it has a sense of humor. Yeah,
but I mean, on the point of loyalty, though, I think it goes deeper than just like I think if you're loyalty, they think of like they think of like fidelity, like like someone that won't cheat or something. But it's more like someone who has your back.
Someone with values.
Yeah, that's what I assume he meant when he said it.
Well, loyalty in the sense like a partner that has your back on all things, like they're going to support you.
And
there's be there.
There's a lot of other things I get to pack in there because of that word too, right? So I get double picks, like consistency.
They call all under loyalty,
trust, right? All that shit goes. And when someone's loyal, you get that in the bundle.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the quickest tell of somebody who's not loyal is if they wait until you're in public to bring up something that was bothering them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a big thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Or just someone who generally like, if you're in that situation and like, you're trying to like, you need someone to back you up and like they literally just like stab you in the back instead. They like they'll pile onto you instead of defending you. Like that shit really matters.
I did
more in a relationship than anything. That's the kind of stuff that really engenders like contempt and bitterness.
I did a test with an ex-girlfriend when I had those feelings about her. I was taking my mother to the bank one day and I told her, and she texted me. And when it pops up the beginning of the text. And it made me think, and this is kind of a lie. I told her, hey, let's not talk about, be careful what you text because I'm taking my mom to the bank and she can see the text, which really she cannot. Even if at the most she'd be able to read 3 words or something and it's cut off. But immediately it was bling, 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 bling. It was just a test. I don't give a fuck what you said. It was just to see if you would do that.
That's funny. I'm not surprised that you test people. I see how every new person on a panel gets the you're pulled over, you're the passenger, right?
Right. It helps me in my bigotry that Jeff don't like so much, but I like prejudging motherfuckers. I think I do it well. You speak a sentence, I'll be like, yeah, that nigga was adopted. He grew up on the south side of Boston. I think it helps me, man. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
If someone grew up in Boston, you'll be able to fucking tell. I've met people from Boston. You can fucking tell.
Judge this book by its cover. By JoeCool.
That's gonna be the name of my book.
Rip, you got a cold or allergies or something? You sound different.
Do I?
Maybe not. Okay, never mind. I think I heard Denizen talk and you laughed and so your circle lit or something.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I see libs. Oh wait, that was I-Fi. I-Fi was back, right? Was I-Fi here earlier?
He don't come here.
No.
Yeah, I've been here a while.
He left the Discord and he said I banished him.
I-Fi don't come around here no more.
But he's also hidden, so I might not even see him if he does. So maybe he's
I never notice snafus anywhere until I see people in the chats going, snafu, calm down. Snafu, calm down. And Joe's heard me probably talk about how I would test people too. Like anytime I met somebody new, which I was back in the day, I was very cautious about meeting new people at all. But if I did, the first thing I'd do is I'd have them over, I'd bring them down to the basement, and then I'd find an excuse to go upstairs and I'd leave something out like a shard. Normally it was a shard, right? Because something that's small enough or big enough that looks like it's worth stealing, but small enough that looks like I wouldn't notice. And I'd see if that shard was still there when I came back downstairs.
What's a shard?
A chunk of meth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think I told you we did it with some cocaine. We didn't trust this guy. He was new to the group, and he was too. Yeah, you my brothers. I'd do anything for y'all. So as a tester, we went in the room. We came up with a plan. We got washing powder that you wash your clothes with. Put it in a thing like it was an ounce or something, and tied it up. And then we went outside and did something. And my friend Boo Man was like, "Oh man, I lost my dope." We all sold so much drugs; it was totally feasible. So he was like, "Dude, go in there and look." And he just scooped it up. I didn't see it. Everybody else in the house, no, because it was a setup. And then he made an excuse to leave. And later, one of our friends, he was like, we told him the story, and he was like, "Man, you ain't gonna believe this shit. I was down there, dude come in the door with a big ass package. I was like, it ain't real." He was like, "Bullshit, my niggas don't play." And I blew that shit too. It was Mr. Bubble. That's what it was called.
Bubbles, sneezing out, scrubbing bubbles.
Yes, so Mr. Bubble. That's what it was called.
I'd be lying if I said
I remember people trying to pass off glycerin soap as shit back in the day.
This as rocks, maybe.
I didn't sell a handful of crushed up no-dos several times to the same motherfucker though. I got him once, and he called me. I had 2 hours later. He's calling me, and I'm like, "Fuck, he's mad."
Right.
And so I answered. I'm like, "Hello." He's like, "Hey, can you get some more of that?" I'm like, "For shit show."
Hello, how do you like? Tell me about your conscience. Like, how do you sleep?
Normally on my left side.
Yeah.
Like if I deliberately deceive somebody about the drug, I would not be able to do that. Like there's a conscience I would have.
Even back then, I'd had problems with it when I was young. I'd still had problems with it.
Well, because I wouldn't want that you all are pussies.
I got a reputation off of that. Motherfuckers knew I was going to steal. I was trustworthy. I was in places many people couldn't go, and I got to hide the entire time. But I was so trustworthy. Motherfucker leave shit with me for weeks and go to fucking to the islands somewhere, and their shit would still be there. I might be like, "You sure?" I might have forgot about it, but I ain't touched it. You sure?
This was when I was like 14. I didn't give a fucking shit.
You're a better Satanist than
FlowState's a natural born politician.
Jeff goes, "You're a better Satanist than I am."
I couldn't lie to
That's a good one.
Drugs I was selling.
I couldn't lie to people.
Some fake shit. That's so deceptive. Like that corrodes the entire like social fabric and social contract.
You should run for office.
Haven't you noticed me trying to corrode the fabrics of society?
Yeah, my intent from the beginning. That's funny.
I'm trying to build.
Hey Jeff,
Stabilize civilization.
Let me ask you something, Jeff. We had a conversation. I don't know. Me and you had a conversation. It was a bunch of us. I think it was about the government, something about the government. And someone texted me afterwards and said, you was like, "Oh, were you in the conversation?" You were like, "Yes, I run towards my so-and-so. Yes, I love my slavery." It was that conversation.
Yeah, no, I like paying taxes and stuff.
Yes, right.
This is why
I was here for that.
This is why you're a better Satanist than I am. I'm walking in the image of Jesus. I'm trying to destroy the fabric of society like Jesus was trying to. Damn. You're trying to stitch that shit back together like Caesar.
You've been hanging around top.
That's a good point, Flo. That's a good point.
About society because of your own actions.
Jesus was a better Satanist than Jeff is, really.
I know, Jeff. You got to step that shit up. Your little action figure behind you ain't cutting it anymore.
Oh my gosh, y'all! I can't.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Jesus
give
was a
them, for they know not what they say.
But Jeff, the text, I still want to get to the text, and I want your opinion on it.
Oh, okay.
It was the reason Jeff can't see that the government is bad is because he's a Satanist. I keep forgetting you're a Satanist. I'm like, Flo, you're the weakest Satanist I've ever seen.
Definitely not why.
Is that a thing?
That is definitely not why.
Converted Satanism.
Government's not bad.
I've never had a negative opinion about the government. I've never had a reason to. I was always worried.
That's why you're a Satanist. That's why you're a better Satanist.
That was his argument, that a Satanist would have a proclivity toward government shit. They want to be controlled. They want to dominate.
No. Look at our politicians and tell me that they're not all pure fucking Satanists.
But there has to be some checks and balance that at least now whether
Some
that
check to God, is that what you're saying?
no
God
checks and balances, no. Because I've still been thinking about our conversation about the pyramid. I talked to my daddy about that, and we'll talk about that on your show. Yeah.
Or just Frank?
Who's your daddy? No, my real dad about what about the pyramid and the conversation about would I trust the government or the advertisement agencies to control the media? I would trust the government before I trusted the advertisement agencies.
Guess who's the second best Satanist in the group? Maybe even the first.
Guess who controls the government? It's the advertising agencies.
Not against flesh and blood.
Like literally everything you think and believe is brought to you by Pfizer.
That's what I was waiting for someone to say, Denizen.
This ain't brought by Pfizer.
I know.
You're wrong.
It is though. Because if you start to have a conversation in that area, YouTube will shut your ass down.
I'll take your money.
Yeah,
Pfizer, please give me some of that pharma money. I'm down.
No, it's not for you.
Why is Chris?
You're not in the club.
Get mounted.
You don't disseminate information.
I inseminate information.
It's funny.
Yeah, I would agree that the government is not like they are check the media to make sure that they don't give you propaganda. That's nonsense. They bought and sold everyone.
If we had anarcho-capitalism, it wouldn't look much different than it does right now because the same people would be in charge.
I mean, it'd probably look worse, arguably.
Jesse, when are we doing another dance? Do you still do them?
A little bit.
Well, we're. Go ahead, Cynthia.
I was just telling him how you had Rachel on your show today because we were talking about a transgender, and I said, "Well, Jesse had Rachel on today."
Oh, from Rachel's Ghost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she thought I was somebody else. Did you catch that, Jesse? She was like, JoeCool, I know him. That's Dr. So-and-so. He thinks this and this. I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Yeah, I didn't know about that, but we had booked her like, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. And, I'd never had anybody transgender. So I just wanted to know more about, how that all came about. And so it was definitely, interesting just to give everybody another perspective on, someone that's battling through this dimension.
I didn't see that part, Jesse, about anything transgender, but even without that, she was so exciting. Political point of view, had an opinion, strong opinion on everything. Even without catching the transgender part, it was still an exciting interview.
Yeah. Yeah, Rachel's I like her. Good panel host too. I don't catch a lot of it because she does shit in the mornings, and I'm on this nighttime streamer sleep schedule. But yeah, no, I like Rachel a lot.
Yeah,
she's always enthusiastic, right? She's got a great quality of always being able to have that energy and excitement, no matter how fucking unexciting the topic is.
Yes, I noticed that for every comment she read. Yeah, I was impressed.
And she said that, but she started, transitioning, I guess, when she was 46 and she's 60 something now. But, at the time in her life, she really needed it, but she kind of wouldn't have done it if she would knows now, what she would have at that time. But she just needed it at that time because life was pretty perilous for her at that time.
Did you say she said she would not have transitioned?
Yeah.
Wow.
She still felt like it, but not to do with the drugs. And she actually went and chopped it off and is an innie and and so.
Oh, yeah.
So she wouldn't have actually went through all that. Not that she would feel any different.
I got you.
she just wouldn't have gone through, the actual that, and doesn't recommend it to
Jesse. Do you think like
I've spoken to I've spoken to trans people or trans women, and like older ones, and I've heard that a couple times too. Yeah.
they regret the surgery?
Yeah, it happened. Well, not so. I don't want to put words in my mouth because they never said the word regret. They just said like what Jesse said. Actually,
very good. Thanks for the correction.
She phrased it exactly the same way. She said, if I were to go back, I wouldn't have gotten the surgery then.
But at that time, Jesse's phrase
wouldn't have changed any of her. She wouldn't have changed. That wouldn't have changed anything about her. She just like the surgery itself is pretty.
So that leads me to think: is there any validity to the argument that that every person, especially later in life, who decides, you know what, I was a man all this time, I was a woman, now I want to change. Is there any validity? Because I'm told that person is just crazy. Is there any validity to that argument?
To someone transitioning and then detransitioning?
No. Just transitioning. Someone, and assuming this is a thing, up to the year of about 40 years old, has been male or female, and now says, you know what, I feel the other way, I'm going to become the opposite sex. Is that a thing? Because I'm told that anyone who believes that has a mental issue.
No,
it happens later in life and not in childhood.
No, I've known people who've transitioned later in life.
I would assume that there would have been some string of something beforehand. It cannot just happen at one moment.
No. It's usually like,
I mean, like my tattoo did.
I don't think that's the norm.
Yeah, it's definitely not as common, especially now. It's not as common for people to want to transition later. Because like that used to be it used to be way more common because transition was much more difficult. It was much more socially
logical. Yes.
But yeah. So yeah, I think it's valid when like if
all right. So and that was a little bit of a false argument. Is there any argument? What about the person who has felt all along? You know, I'm a woman, even though or I don't even know how it goes. Might not have been all along. Is there any validity, though, to the average trans? It's just mental. It's not real.
I don't think so. The
mental is real. Mental reality.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's mental, but it's not like having gender being transgender is not a mental illness. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness, depending on the severity. I think.
That's the difference.
It's technically a mental illness. Gender dysphoria is basically feeling. So it's about feeling uncomfortable.
And yet sex.
Well, sort of. It encompasses a lot of different things. I do think the word gender dysphoria.
Better, I think.
Well, personally, I think body dysmorphia encompasses what a lot of transgender people, in my experience, have felt.
Feel like they're in the wrong body.
Yeah, dysmorphia. So that's something anybody could feel. Fat people could feel it. Yes. People with little boobs could feel it.
It's just about your sex, and then also usually gender as well.
All right, I hadn't thrown a body part in there. I had never even considered that.
Joe has age dysphoria. That's why he claims to be 56 now.
It's actually also, it's not just about the body parts. Like for me, most of my dysphoria comes from body hair. Like that's the big thing. It makes my skin crawl. I don't like it.
Sorry.
Have you always been like
anybody but me?
Your hair affected you that way?
Yes.
That seems like something that does seem something mental ill.
It sounds like a chick trait. I bet a lot of chicks have that.
Have that effect on you like that?
Oh, why? I have no fucking idea.
I know, but that does seem something for like a therapist to explore.
Now, if you got LASIK, I'm just playing hypothetical. If you got LASIK hair removal, would you still feel trans?
Well, yeah, because I am trans. The body.
Well, if you want to play that card, I don't think you are. I think you just don't like body hair.
Oh no, I don't. That is I don't like body hair, but that's not like where
I mean, and women have body hair too, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. No. My thing is like I have very long body hair everywhere, and it just
cam up.
Live.
No, thank you. Also,
So
I
if
usually
I
shave most of it.
remember
Are you
correctly.
Italian?
Oh, are
Me?
you?
No.
Oh,
Not even close. I'm English, German, and Scottish.
if I remember correctly, you're a male transitioning to a woman that has a girlfriend that is also a male transitioning into a woman, correct? Did I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I got a
gay
buddy,
man who hates body hair.
But for you, it's more about just body hair. It's not just I don't like my body hair.
Do you wish that you were
therefore I'm
porcelain smooth like Jeff?
body hair.
He does have body hair.
You about to show us?
Oh,
damn!
This is why Jesse's
He's
not allowed
rocking
to
it.
have high vibe love tribes anymore because every
got a
time,
Jeff sweater.
every time Jesse gets Jeff all hopped up, then he comes to my stream afterwards and he's just like in freak mode.
Well, we're doing one tonight, but it's not a high vibe love tribe. So it's we're doing another panel starting at 8:15 Eastern, and the first half an hour is a dance like we do, like on just kind of warm it up. So
Did you see
8:45.
Oh my.
But of the last conversation, so I thought it was interesting that Rachel said that it was a condition and it was dysphoria. So I found that was fascinating. And I think
That
it's
is
really
interesting.
important. I think it's really important that people can hear, especially children, or, that saying that not happy going through the chemical and not going through some of these things. I think it's important for anyone to hear that before, actually going to transition, that there's
That's
other
dope.
people out there that aren't happy with that decision of making those chemical alterations. And so having an interview like that, I think is important, that people can hear these different things, knowing that someone that's gone through it and know that maybe they wouldn't have made that decision knowing, and then maybe helping someone in the future. So I think
Maybe
that
you're
was
too busy, Jesse, but you ever think of chopping these up into something more consumable, 20-minute bits or something, different topics that you covered in there?
So apparently people say I should go in to get one of these artificial intelligence programs that will do that all for me and all that kind of stuff. I'm just so busy right now.
I didn't know
but
that
just
was a
don't wanna-
thing.
I don't. Yeah, I guess there's AI programs that can take your
We
podcast
tried
and
it a little bit.
they chop some
Yeah,
shit
I
up.
mean,
and
I've
they give you
used
like
them.
clips.
It sounds like it would be horrible.
The clips they chop seem random. They don't.
Yes,
seem to
that's what I
yeah.
was saying.
Every time I've seen
the clip you would come up with if you went and selected a
Yes,
clip.
right. And I know he ain't got time to go over that hour's
I
stream
thought the
again.
clips were pretty decent actually, but I mean, I thought it did a pretty good job, but it wasn't perfect.
I would be surprised if
Okay.
it couldn't. Like, you can see where YouTube decides to interject commercials, and it's pretty good. I would be surprised that they could not get an AI program. And I don't intentionally use AI for anything. I think it's the devil. Ricky Bobby needs to stay away from that shit. But I have a hard time believing it wouldn't be able to suss out when a topic change happens.
Okay.
It does. It just does. It's just clunky about it. Like
this is where Flo
One of
and
our-
I agree. We're Neil
The Matrix has you.
One of our chicken Panda Express has an AI. You now order
A chicken Panda
a
Express?
Panda Express. I was about to say the orange chicken place.
That's all you get.
You sound
Yeah,
like my
so-
daughter. You know the place with the rice and the chicken?
AI.
Yeah, so when you drive up, there's no longer the hi, welcome
person?
to. Yeah, it's an AI. You order through an AI person.
Whoa, what is their voice sound?
She has a
what's the
voice,
like?
and she even says, "Hi, I'm your new AI person," but she gets it wrong every single time. Like
Is
she
she
always
Asian?
doubles the order.
Nah,
So
see,
you have
that's
like
just
a
some
stereotypical-
person in the
does she have like
Philippines
a
fucking with you.
racist Chinese accent. She's like, "Oh, hello."
No, she.
That's just Rose from the Philippines fucking with you. That's all that is.
I don't
You're trying to
understand why-
upsell you. Like, I didn't want all these large drinks and all these extra egg rolls.
But I don't understand
AI is smart.
because one of my friends from church, her daughter works there, and so when I pulled up, I was like, "So how are you liking the AI?" And she was like, she told me she pretty much gets at least every other order wrong. The line is because she's super slow to come on. Like she has a whole pitch before she gets to taking your order.
You're getting fucked with.
Yeah,
That's just some person with English as a fourth language.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's causing delays.
Oh, hey,
the AI would be fast, even if it were
No, it is
ineffective.
AI. I'm telling you.
Auntie, really fast correction. I understand what you're saying about Apple's symbol. There is no evidence that supports the fruit of Eden or whatever being an apple.
Yeah, it wasn't an apple.
There's no.
First of all, it's a story. It wasn't anything, but
it's not apple in the Bible.
If it was a factual account, they think it might be a pomegranate or something like that.
Yeah. Also, Apple's symbol is not the fruit of Eden. Apple's symbol is an apple, because they're called Apple. I don't know how else I can explain that
with pictures.
Yeah, it's an.
I mean, that didn't really. I'm gonna say that wasn't really a satisfying refutation of her claim.
Well, I mean, her argument is that it's
okay, JoeCool.
Bite taken out.
Right. It's still kind of makes sense to me what she's saying. I mean, she hasn't really proven it, but
well, I don't know.
We refer to that fruit as the apple, right?
Well, no.
It's commonly referred to as an apple.
It's commonly misreferred to as an apple. That's
enough commonly enough.
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
Most people refer to it as an apple. Commonly so.
Sure, they're
but
wrong.
if you go back into Apple's logos history, their very first logo was actually a picture of Newton sitting under a tree, and that's where the apple thing came from.
There used to be a TV show.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Educational program.
That does change it a little bit in my head.
The scientist that we interviewed yesterday, he was saying that we need to be eating more apples, apple cider vinegar, get away from a lot of these, synthetic vitamins and vitamin stores, even the doctors that are pushing all this. He's like, apples, and they say apple a day keeps the doctor away. You don't hear that anymore. He says that's really important. Start eating apples and taking a little bit of apple cider vinegar every day. It'll increase your health tremendously.
Have you ever smelled apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, I bought the most expensive bottle thinking I was gonna when I heard this years ago, and I take it home. I'm ready to take my first shot. I smell it. I put it on the shelf, and it stayed there for 6 months. I didn't even take the bottle back open. It doesn't smell very good, but apparently it's very healthy just to put a couple tablespoons into a glass of water and drink that water. Just take a couple tablespoons a day. After that, I took shots, and it's really strong.
I bet if you bite a lime afterwards, it'll help.
Can I just buy like the salt and vinegar potato chips?
What about those?
I just go straight.
That's
to the source.
not healthy, Jeff.
I just eat apples because apples are delicious.
Apples are very good for you, and
especially in
right
Washington
now,
State. I didn't really know apples until I moved here. We just had like the red lunchbox apples growing up. They come in so many different flavors. We have not.
The rest of us have been eating apples our whole lives. How did you not know about the green apples and the yellow apples?
No, I was green and red. Years old.
All these other flavors.
Well, black people don't eat fruit.
There's flavors they're like wine. They're like.
You didn't know I knew about grape juice, did you, white people?
We thought it was just all Kool-Aid.
You thought it was all that was all Kool-Aid.
What you showing? Oh, wow! That was the Gamble logo.
What the fuck?
That's cool. I remember this. Yeah,
that's the first Apple logo. It went straight from that to the apple with the bite out of it.
I like,
it was Newton. It was a reference to Newton's discovery of gravity.
Now it's more satanic to me.
I think it's more in line with the Apple thing. They highlight the apple in that picture, perhaps on purpose, perhaps meaning the original theory of it's all about the apple from the garden shit holds still.
But remember, if you're going to eat the apples, they got the new coatings, the appeal and things like that they're putting on the fruits to preserve them and stuff. So we've gotten to the habit because if you wash an apple in hot water, you can feel almost the waxy shit on it. So we'll just peel off the skin.
Have you ever had a grapple? Have you ever had a grapple?
Oh,
they actually crossbred grapes with apples. So it's like it looks like an apple, but you bite into it and it has like the texture of a grape on the inside. really
actually
weird.
sounds delicious.
That sounds gross. I would not want to slide into a big giant.
It's pretty good. They taste pretty good, but it's really weird.
It's Jeff.
It's really
Jeff,
weird.
you're being challenged, Jeff. I was about to say, it's Jeff still here. It's his fucking room.
Jeff,
You're
full
being
screen me. Who's the better
challenged.
Satanist now?
Yeah, I think he got you,
Let me
Jeff.
see. Burn. Do the.
How is Jeff a Satanist?
I
That's
have.
what I'm saying. He's pretty bad at it, right?
Better. I have some ram horns, but I like yours a lot better.
How is he a Satanist?
Mine
Is
looks
he-
like a bighorn sheep.
Like he says he's a Satanist, but
Yeah.
I don't. He doesn't share any Satanist values that I can. be
He's
aware of.
white. He's got that part down.
Personal autonomy, freedom of speech. I've rattled them off so many times.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I don't even need to hear his definition. He just needs to say he's a Satanist.
Also, self-empowerment.
No, I'd like to know his definition because one jumps in my head as some evil motherfucker drinking kids' blood. So I obviously need
Satanists.
Haven't you been to mass?
Satanists
That's
are
the
kind of
Catholics.
humanists.
No, Joe, you're thinking
Satanism is like human supremacy.
That's politics.
You're thinking of
No,
Hillary
that's the
Clinton.
Catholics. There's
But I
only
guess-
one church
but it
service that has as a ritual and as the pinnacle of everything is the pinnacle is the offering plate, but right before that you drink blood and eat flesh.
All right, here, Satanists. They believe that the devil rules the world, and I'm going to follow him. Satanists. Is that a thing?
We don't follow him. He's more like an inspiration. We like a role.
He's like a
model.
He's
I'm on
He's a role
something,
model.
damn it.
So you follow him, is what you're saying.
No, like
So
not
can-
in the sense that you like. He tells us what to do.
Commands, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I think
more
the
like
fact
Fuck
that
you
I
mean
also
commands? Yeah, don't let that just go under the fucking table. What that mean? What kind of commands?
So I think
Then
the
he
fact that I
doesn't.
also own
Satan doesn't
devil horn
command things. That's
does
why he's
more
not
Does
followed.
not command.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very good. He's just
It's about
inspired.
human supremacy, in fact, right? So you treat
mean-
you treat yourself and other human beings like you are the gods.
I don't do any of that consciously.
I mean, also
I've
most
always treated people. As
most like denominations of
How do-
Satanism are
Yeah.
like non-theistic. Anyways, either
So
either
how
you
do
have,
we
like-
know you're
Jeff, can you do a poll whose devil horns are better?
Pull
Yours
your
is-
cocks out, guys. I mean, let me see
Jeff.
yours, guys.
I would even vote for you.
Jeff got some
Yeah.
red. I can't even see if he wearing. Oh, I see him. I
Jeff's
see him. He
yours,
go down.
yours are like satyr.
Uh,
They're not quite. devil
Yeah,
horns. You look like a satyr now. I mean, I'm not knocking you. Satyrs are fucking
Oh,
sick.
that's
Jeff is back on top.
That's my business is called Satyrs Grove. So maybe
Yeah.
You have a business called Satyrs
there's a
Grove. What's Satyr? Is it Satan? Is
No,
it?
satyr.
it
SATYR.
was.
It's
I
a man
did.
goat.
I did choose it for its association with Satan.
Yeah.
I couldn't call
Uh,
it Satan's Grove.
but-
so
What do
I
you
called-
sell? Are these the new color apples that you didn't
I'm
know about?
a peer counselor for ADHD.
Could you imagine, like, my son needs counseling? I wonder who I want to pick. Satan.
I
I'm
need a
telling you, you would
Satanist.
want me.
Also,
But go shop around, see the options out there. But when you really want your son to make progress, come to me and we'll get it done.
And he gonna come back to
What
me
kind
and
of-
say,
depends on how
"Worship
you
the
define
dark
progress."
Lord."
also,
Well, it's going to define by your son.
satyrs.
But I'm
are,
paying your bills.
mythological
You
creatures.
work for me.
Well, you and your son. That it's whatever goal, like whatever he's coming to me for in the first place. Like he's not just coming to.
Thank you.
It's whatever his issues are that you're seeking out help for in the first place.
It's just he follows the devil. You can't help him.
Also, while
There are
satyrs
people-
are
there's plenty of
associated
people I can't
with Satan, they are mythological. They're generally mythological creatures that have the upper half of a man with horns, and then their lower half is of like a goat.
Yeah,
So they got
I'm a
Go.
Sagittarius.
Satanist.
Trans goats.
trans goats. Yes, yes. Satyrs are trans goat.
men who stare.
And well, they were also tricksters, right? Like, and that's where the term. That's why my name, like satiric iconoclast, is like a portmanteau of
drama, like every
of the
movie.
Satyricon and an iconoclast. So it's but the Satyricon was it's called that. It's the word.
That's
from the word
that's
satire.
in the Roman day. What, like centuries after
Gatito.
the satyrs developed.
I know.
But,
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying that that's where the term satire comes from.
You know, whenever I am choosing a name for a channel or anything, an account, I try to choose things that nobody could ever pronounce in their whole fucking life. Chris,
brilliant.
You know.
I mean, that wasn't what I was going for when I picked Denizen, but you'd be surprised.
Oh, Denizen that's not enough syllables. But look at Chris's name. What the fuck is this?
Denizen's a real
Nobody's
word.
even going to try to. That is too many
I
syllables.
knew it
That's
right
like
away.
8
The minute I
syllables.
saw the name, the very first day I met Chris, the name, I knew it right
Yeah,
away.
because you have a different ability. You have a different ability. That's why I can read a room and you can read Chris's name.
Satyriconoclast.
Yeah, I had the emphasis in the wrong
Is
word.
that incorrect?
Satyriconoclast.
Yeah, that's right. Satyriconoclast. Yeah, it's portmanteau of the Satyricon, like which is like the oldest novel, and it's also the root of the word satire.
You have to have layers upon layers of nerdery to decipher that name.
Correct.
Yes, you do. That's kind of the point, though.
Oh, it's exclusive. It's like a barrier to entry.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a nerd stream.
I'm just gonna be out here listening to Limp Bizkit and riding on bikes with pegs and shit.
Riding on what?
You know, back you're way too old to remember back in the days in the golden era of music in the late 90s when you could ride on your friend's pegs on the back of his bike and you'd try to listen to Limp Bizkit on a Discman without it skipping.
Are you talking about a bicycle or a motorbike?
BMX type shit. Just put pegs
We
front
used to
or
ride
back.
each other on the bikes all the time. We did that.
Jesse's probably killed himself 3 or 4 times on bikes with pegs.
I actually my finger.
Are you accusing people of getting pegged? I mean, what's happening here? I'm not understanding.
I knew it was going to go there. I knew it was going to go there.
What's a peg?
You
What is
did?
a bike?
You knew it was going to go
I was
there?
expecting it.
Yeah,
I just didn't realize how deep a nerd Jeff was that he didn't know what bike pegs were.
I'm not a bike nerd.
They're just look. It's a metal tube about this big that you stick on the back on the back and front hub of a bicycle.
Wheel.
You stick a peg on it, and it's like a metal tube.
Not sure what a
this
hub
big.
is.
We didn't have that. We just rode each other on the handlebars of the back seat.
What I say? Did I say hub or spoke?
You said hub, but we got it though.
Okay.
You said hub.
I'll just Google it. I'll ask the AI.
Okay, make sure to put bike in and don't just Google peg.
Yeah, don't
and turn on safe search.
Yeah,
right. Easy way to explain it, Jeff.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not even. If you don't turn safe search, I'm not even sure saying bike and peg together. I'm not sure that won't get you results.
I see what he's talking about. We didn't have that. I don't even know what that is. Our bikes were not.
What do you mean we?
I know because you're so old. Your bikes had that big
no,
thing on the back.
No,
of the seat,
he's not that
basket on
old.
front. Your bike had Toto in the front baskets.
You were right when you said
Some of them
nerd.
did.
It's not about his age.
But some of
Yeah,
them
we
didn't.
had them, and I'm 50, so
Yeah, we're similar ages.
Yeah, but I think you're still
we
younger
had
than
bike
Jeff.
pegs.
with the gear, and you would have to, and sometimes the
Not
chain.
just-
How
would
did
come off.
Jeff and
Stop
Jesse look
your
so
fingers from
goddamn
your
young? I look older than these 2 old fucks. Thank you.
It's because you have a beard and it's graying slightly, which like looks distinguished on you. Like I'm not
Thank
gonna
you.
lie.
Wait, how old are you? 40 something? 30 something?
37.
Oh yeah, you're way young. You just, you're like the age of my friends' kids. Like when all my friends started having kids, you would have been
Okay,
one of them.
Dad.
You got to drink more adrenochrome, Flo. We all drink it. You got to drink more.
Yeah.
I love that adrenochrome.
No, I
I love
wasn't
that
including you.
shit.
You weren't included in the. I'm changing my black don't crack theory to Norwegian don't crack or whatever you guys' ethnicity is.
Gay people don't age as quickly.
American.
Gay people don't age.
Is that what's happening with Jesse?
Gay people do not age as quickly. I don't know if Jesse's gay or not, but
Dick must just keep you young. What can you
Jesse,
say?
how old are
Yeah.
you?
That's what it is. That's the cock all these years.
but the gay gene, it keeps your
Well,
skin
then you'd
tight.
think that
yeah.
women would stay young forever, but they don't.
Well, it's only in the butt, though. It has to be the butt, though.
And look, you'd think that women, instead of deteriorating overnight, you'd think you'd take a woman home, give her some of that anti-aging cream, and then in the morning she'd be like looking good as shit. But
It has to be. It has to be anally injected. I don't know what to tell you. You know, without if there's an into it.
I'm
though,
wondering
you
if
know,
this is an indication that we're reaching wrap up.
I'm always neglecting something. So.
Yes, when the host, when the co-host, and the co-host starts trolling his own stream, I guess it's time to wrap up.
Auntie Dearest, I think, is giving the emoji for halt right there.
Yeah, she doesn't like when people talk about sex.
Oh my god.
Well, we'll be. Oh, actually, yeah, we will be here tomorrow, but I have an appointment in the morning. I may be a little late, but I think I'll be back in time to run the stream. So if I don't show up exactly at 2 p.m., I'll be there at some point.
All right, gentlemen.
I you know, if you want, I can go ahead and start it.
I thought about it, but I really think and you know what I can do if I'm still out and about, I can always start it from my phone. If I have to.
Peace
out.
out.
I mean, you could just message me and tell me I can just start it because like you can just like do the restream thing if you need to because like I'll definitely be here at the time of this when the show starts tomorrow because I have like
tomorrow.
I have people come and pick things up from offer up to tomorrow, so at around 1 and 2.
Have a good night, Jesse. Everybody. Yeah, we're having a stream later tonight. If anybody's interested, you guys have a great night. May the source be with y'all.
You too. Let me
know. May the source be with us.
And as your new satanic overlord, good night, Jeff. You're out.
Hail Satan.
Well, Flo, you just need to take
as designed.
Flo just needs to take his Pope hat, needs to turn the cross upside down and paint it red or something like that. Then he can be Satan Pope if he wants to.
I see. This is my prediction for the next year or two. I see Lib becoming an enlightened centrist, and I see Flo converting into Satanism as he finds his true path, true calling, and true self.
Well, you know, there's a site that you can set up. You can make you can create stocks for predictions for your stream. Destiny was doing this for a while. I can't remember what it's called.
Rowan called into Destiny. I meant to watch it. Let's watch it tomorrow. Remind me.
Yeah, let's watch that tomorrow. But there's this thing where you can do like you can put up predictions for like the next year or something like that, and then people can like use these fake points or whatever, and they can invest so many points into that, and then like if the prediction comes true, then they win those points. It's like a game you can play with like people in your stream where like people can make predictions about will so and so like like it was like a lot of them were like had to do with like whether or not Destiny was going to get a divorce and stuff like that. Then he did and stuff like that. I mean, like he used to just run this stock ticker at the top of his thing. That was like that was.
I think Frank does that already. Like JoeCool is going to light up a joint in 23 seconds, and sure enough.
It's a fun idea anyway. It doesn't actually cost any actual money, but
because if people watch the streams long enough and learn each other's patterns, then it's easy to make prediction, create some kind of little system for people to make predictions.
It's kind of something to kind of incentivize people to watch to a degree, I guess. I don't know.
When I'm gonna rock, how long it's gonna last. Good luck.
Yeah.
When Chris is gonna tap his leg.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, man.
Have audio issues. So
yeah, especially audio issues.
I'll be there. I'll be hanging out around tonight at some point.
I got to run out myself too, but I'll be back later.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. And goat horns, sheep horns off before would be the first time. Take care. Good to see you later. Hail yourself, and to hell with everybody else. Here we go.